Okay, everybody. Happy Monday, the 30th of March. One more day of the end of the year, like what they are saying. It's warm here today. Got him to the park again. It is 69 degrees. But tomorrow we're going to have rain, I think. I think our cold weather could be going away. I don't see no minus degrees at all. 70, 68, 47, 61, 70. I got confused on what I said about when I was starting. I forgot that I had my new time was 3 o'clock. Sorry, got my confusion. 3 to 7. We're gonna do 4 hours, one big show, and we got a big show. Thanks, Lynn, who commented in my comment section yesterday. Yep, thanks for following me, supporting. Been doing it for almost 6 years since 2020 or 2021. Went through a lot, not giving up. I can't believe Billy Bean hasn't come out. I think she had a 9 minute one last night. We do got breaking news on shots fired in Port Charlotte. Suspect's arm. I sent the video to Kay and Carol to do some homework on it. I haven't seen Or Eyes in here this week. Must be busy. Oh, let's see who's first today. Okay, nice sunny warm. So here's okay. Nice sunny warm today. There he is. Monday. How you, buddy? Look at your dog. Chico. It was a short one. Starfire. God dang it. Always, every day. Too much intel. Where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? It's almost time. You know, Starfire's the only one in yet. I got a minute left. Uh, I normally go at the 10-minute mark. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because we got a lot. I want to get a lot done in these 4 hours. Saying my games will be after 7, so a lot of stuff to get done. But we're gonna do photos first. Uh, King and Queen. Taylor Swift vows to never release another album until the war ends. Aw, too bad. Breaking: Israel has confirmed its soldiers will not be joining the U.S. in the ground invasion of Iran due to concern that they would have to fight grown men rather than unarmed women and children. So, Starfire, do you know anything about this? That's a weird looking calendar. It just found it on Telegram. So I don't know what that mess is. Yeah, but this is the sixth time though. I'm learning about the 250th anniversary. So I don't know what they're saying on that. Well, we got nine showing, only one in chat. 30 years ago, 225 million boxes of oranges were picked in Florida groves. This year, the forecast from the U.S. Agriculture Department is 12 million boxes, a drop of 95% in one generation. I got one more to read for our Canadian friends. Uh, I, I'll play the video. I don't want to share this one. So the next one will be 5 minutes. Film.
For U.S. Senate. In this Holy Week, President and the First Lady are joining in prayer with Christians
5 minutes
celebrating
on this
the
one.
resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. On Wednesday, the President will host an Easter lunch in the East Room with faith leaders across the country to celebrate Holy Week. With respect to the ongoing major combat operations in Iran, Operation Epic Fury is moving ahead successfully and according to plan. With each passing day, the United States military is increasing its advantage over the terrorist Iranian regime. More than 11,000 enemy targets have been struck to date, each strike further crippling the regime's offensive and defensive capabilities and creating more leverage for the United States and our allies. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also decimating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 150 of their naval vessels so far, including 92% of their largest vessels. The Iranian Navy has no vessels operating in major regional waterways and no ability to project naval power, which is why they've been assessed as combat ineffective. Our military continues to obliterate Iran's defense industrial base, with nearly 70% of their missile, drone, and naval production facilities and shipyards damaged or destroyed thus far, significantly reducing their ability to pose future threats in the region. U.S. and Israeli joint forces control the skies and have asserted air dominance over Iran, completing more than 11,000 successful combat flights thus far. The trend remains clear. The United States is conducting more intense, targeted strikes with devastating combat power with each passing day to destroy the threat posed by the Iranian terrorist regime, as President Trump sought out to do a month ago. It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can. Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well. What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately. As a result, President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price. One way or another, Iran will no longer have the credible ability to threaten the United States or our allies, which is, of course, the overall objective and mission the president set out when he launched Operation Epic Fury. Unfortunately, even as President Trump is working hard every single day to protect the United States from foreign enemies, Democrats on Capitol Hill have failed to do the same here at home by keeping the Department of Homeland Security unfunded. Over the past 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have pushed our air travel system to its breaking point and inflicted massive pain on Americans with their reckless political games. 500 TSA officers quit their jobs. Thousands more were calling out sick at record rates due to the lack of pay. This resulted in security wait times exceeding 3 hours at major airports across the country, creating nightmares for millions of Americans. Overall morale among TSA staff plummeted as well. All of this creating an unacceptable heightened security risk. Because of the Democrats' unwillingness to do their basic job of funding DHS, President Trump determined that these circumstances constituted an emergency, compromising American security. That's why last week he accordingly signed a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Homeland Security to work with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget here at the White House to use those funds with a reasonable and logical nexus to TSA operations to provide TSA employees with the compensation and benefits that would have accrued to them but for the Democrat-led DHS shutdown. This bold and necessary action by President Trump will ensure our TSA workers receive their hard-earned paychecks. It should not have come to this point, but President Trump will always do what's right by the American people, and he found a way to do that to get TSA paid. Ensuring that these federal workers who perform critical public safety responsibilities can feed their families, pay their rent, and show up to work is something the president was honored to do. But this moment should be an eye-opening one for the American people. Let's be clear about what is happening. Democrat members of Congress are more than happy to put your safety at risk because they oppose the president's administration and his administration's efforts to enforce our nation's immigration law.
Okay, that was
Looking for tax help?
only the 5-minute one. I didn't want to play the 33-minute one. I got a lot of other stuff to share. There was a 5-minute one. Next one's a minute and a half.
App giving front row access to all news from your favorite president, Donald J. Trump. That's me. It's available today on the Apple and Android app stores. You can watch all White House events, read all my executive orders, and keep track of all of our promises made, promises kept. That was a phrase that I used during the campaign, and it's very true. In fact, I actually kept more promises than I even talked about. We did much more than I said we were going to do. Every American should expect their government to have transparency, and the Trump administration is the most transparent in history. That is for sure. No one knew that Sleepy Joe Biden was doing. We had no idea what that guy was doing. The good news is he had no idea either. But my administration is inviting all Americans to join us on this mission to make America great again. I believe it has to be the most important, powerful phrase in the history of politics. Make America great again. And we have made America great again. Now we want to keep it great. So download the new White House app today. Thank you very much. You have done a great job. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So, did anybody catch that new app? So the next two, I got these two short ones, about 3 or 4 minutes, off of News Force that we rarely get to hear. About 3 minutes on the first one.
Real Raw News. United States Navy JAG investigators arrested former Trump confidant and White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson on Friday. She was charged with treason for allegedly betraying President Trump and committing perjury when, in 2022, she testified to the House Select Committee that Trump orchestrated the J6 insurrection. Cassidy Jacqueline Hutchinson, an attractive brunette, worked under Chief of Staff Mark Meadows during the first Trump administration. Before that, the Christopher Newport University graduate had interned for Ted Cruz and Steve Scalise. In 2018, she began an internship at the White House Office of Legislative Affairs. In March 2020, when Mark Meadows became Trump's fourth chief of staff, he selected her as one of his top aides, calling Hutchinson a true patriot. On June 28, 2022, Hutchinson testified before the House Select Committee, alleging that Trump orchestrated the attack on the Capitol. Later, she published a book titled Enough, in which she claimed that former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani and House Representative Matt Gaetz offered her money for sex. In her memoir, Hutchinson wrote that Gaetz offered her $12,500 to attend a Fort Lauderdale swingers party. Both Gaetz and Giuliani denied her claims, calling her a liar. Salacious tales aside, Hutchinson has been the target of a JAG investigation since January 2023.
This is a good one.
A JAG
here.
source told Real Raw
News.
The case against her, our source said, will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Hutchinson received nearly $7 million from the DNC and the Clinton Foundation to assassinate Trump's character and portray him as a sore loser desperately trying to cling to power. Early Friday morning, JAG agents executed a sealed warrant under the Military Commissions Act, surrounding Hutchinson's plush estate on Miami's Fisher Island, the wealthiest zip code in the United States. JAG arrest warrant, open the door, or we're breaking down, the lead agent shouted as he spied Hutchinson and an unidentified male peering down at them from an upstairs window. Hutchinson, wearing only a white bathrobe, holding a glass of Chardonnay, opened the front door and asked, "Really? Do you know who I am?" Jag read her rights. As she was charged as an enemy combatant, she was informed she had no legal rights under that status. "This is insane," Hutchinson allegedly protested. "I testified. I cooperated. I'm a private citizen now. Idiots, I'm too hot for jail." Hutchinson was walked barefoot to a waiting black Suburban and transported to a secure location for processing. She is expected to be flown to a military facility for detention pending tribunal proceedings. "We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times."
How's that first one there? That was pretty good. Got that off the news for us. I got another one.
Jag hangs degenerate deep stater at overdue Gitmo execution. Published by Real Raw News. The U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps on Friday executed traitor Sally Moyer, a former FBI supervisor who had helped launch Operation Arctic Frost, the deep state's convoluted, debunked Russian collusion ruse. As reported in December, Moyer was found guilty of treason and seditious conspiracy at a Guantanamo military tribunal. The presiding magistrate, Special Trial Counsel Rear Admiral Jonathan T. Stevens, had scheduled Moyer's execution for January 2, but for reasons unclear, her hanging got delayed, and she lived 2 months longer than she should have. Although Moyer had stayed silent and expressionless throughout the tribunal, she had an epic meltdown upon being returned to her cell. Per Gitmo sources, the frenzied former Fed became extremely vocal, screaming phrases like, "I was only following orders from myself," and, oddly, "This is my empire of paperclips and panic," at guards and orderlies mopping floors. No, she had ululated at a food service worker, her howl stretching into 17 syllables, her arms winding through the air like broken windshield wipers, her fingers curling into talons that raked some ghostly adversary. We've seen these sudden behavioral changes 100 times. Deep staters think they're invulnerable until a guilty verdict is handed down. Then they spontaneously act crazy, as if we'll buy into their terrible acting, our source said. She was so desperate to exonerate herself, our source added, that Moyer told JAG that someone must have spiked her COVID-19 vaccinations with psychotropic drugs tailored to make her hate Donald Trump. But that claim was meritless. JAG had subpoenaed Moyer's medical records, for national security purposes, ahead of her tribunal. No record of her ever getting a claw shot, our source said. On Friday, Moyer's miserable, inconsequential life ended exactly 17 minutes after MPs from the 525th Military Police Battalion dropped her off at the gallows where Rear Admiral Stevens and an ensemble of military brass had been awaiting her arrival. Instead of accepting her ineluctable fate with dignity and poise, Moyer still played crazy, thrusting her hips toward Admiral Stevens and chanting, "You want this, don't you?" while sliding her tongue across her upper lip. "I'm him, I'm her, I'm all of you," she said. "You can pretend to be whoever or whatever you choose," Admiral Stevens said, and offered her the chance to make a final statement of contrition. "Last words, last request, bury me face down so Trump can kiss my ass," Moyer said. Our source said, "A minute later she was gone, dead, you know how it goes. It'd be nice to think there'll be a time we don't have to do this anymore. But, man, we still have a backlog of people waiting to move to Hades. We have no corporate advertisers, nor billionaire philanthropists looking to support efforts to expose the deep state's evil agenda. Every donation, irrespective of the amount, is appreciated and helps ensure our survival in these perilous times."
Wow, those are two good ones to start off the show, huh? Was got like 10-second clips from the UFOs or whatever they're called. the wrong one. Here's some more of these videos.
What is that light? It's moving again. What is that? Look at how
Wicked.
it moves.
Whoa. Okay. Now let's try a blue color.
15. The light just drifted across the rooftops to the west. It moved
You guys
lower.
think
That one was
crazy,
closer.
isn't it?
It's moving again. It is just past.
Okay, I got, I think, one more or two more. Okay, Tim. Yeah, I got one more, I think. Nope. Okay. That was the fireworks there, laser video clips. I guess I'll play that DJ there. That's a new one. We'll play that one right above the.
'21, Donald John Trump received the full constitutional and military regulation inauguration ceremony. Joint Base Andrews, okay? This is how particular the military is. Hang with me. Donald Trump exited Marine One on a red carpet rollout, which signifies royalty, okay? High honor. As he exited Marine One, the official band on the fourth ruffle, okay? This is how specific military is. On the fourth ruffle, so it'd be like bump-a-bum, 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 bump-a-bum. On the fourth ruffle, in military regulation, Hail to the Chief is supposed to start playing. On the fourth ruffle, as Donald Trump exited Marine One on a red carpet rollout, Hail to the Chief started playing, and on the fourth ruffle, I said that wrong, on the fourth ruffle, the 21 gun salute is to start. So it's the bump a bum is already the Hail to the Chief coming. Bump a bum, bump a bum, bump a bum, bump a bum. So the Hail to the Chief starts playing. On the fourth ruffle, though, boom, boom, the 21 gun salute starts. Okay. All that happened right in front of you. Donald Trump received the full military and constitutional regulation ceremony. Okay. He is the first president in United States history to leave D.C. on Air Force One, and also present on Joint Base Andrews that day were both Air Force Ones. There's two of them. Their numbers 28,000 and number 29,000. It's not secret. You can look that up. You can get on a flight app, okay, which is another optic for you. Both of those have been decommissioned, okay. So once a military aircraft or military vehicle is decommissioned, me or you could buy it if we got the money. So that's another topic for later, okay. So Donald Trump received the full grade constitutional and military regulation inauguration service. This is where it gets even funnier. I think it's the most trollful thing that if I was a general and I got to make this call, gosh, I would want everybody to know it, even though they didn't want most people knowing it from themselves. They want people like me to tell it to you. Okay. On January the 20th, the American people witnessed on national TV, get ready. This is exciting. A lot of you already know what I'm about to say. On January the 20th, 2021, everybody who watched CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, and ESPN, of all people, reported this bullcrap. Everybody witnessed Joe Biden receiving a full grade military regulation funeral service. And I'm going to show you how, because I know how. Let's start at the Capitol building, where he was supposedly speaking to the people, and you saw all the people filling up. Wasn't people. It was a mirror out there. There wasn't people out on the lawn. Those were flags flying. Those weren't people. Okay. All of the military uniforms that were around Biden that day were non-regulation uniforms. Pershing's Army, Pershing's Own, or rather, the Marine Band. None of those were regulation military uniforms. January 20th.
Okay, that's the first one. I got two. Next two are about 3 minutes.
Which is the third largest party in Canada. Yeah, the NDP, the New Democratic Party, they had a convention, and it was like a convention of the Olympics of the most degenerate losers I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. Let me just show you.
It's a point of, go ahead. It's like a point of privilege. The microphones seem really low today. It's hard to hear everyone at the mic. Between the background noise and the volume in here with the microphones, it's really hard to hear. And the closed captioning also is slower to make it hard to keep up with what's going on. Thank you, Delegate. I have a hearing impairment and I'm struggling to hear the delegates, and I know that you are too. Let's have some order. We'll hear from the delegate on microphone 1, please.
I'm pretty sure Dumbo can hear colors from space. What? Also, that whatever that thing is, it's a they them. The they them Hitler. Love that little Hitler cut. You know what? It's like the Nazi party, but with just rainbow colors. But let's keep going.
For she, her, elle, and en français. It's gonna be really hard to follow Rod Ashton. Amazing speaker. We are a working class party. I think most of us in this room are behind that, and while we can debate on the specific words and who is and isn't included, I think our Constitution needs to recognize that. And I also recognize there is, I'm sorry, I'm speaking way too fast. Let me slow down for the closed captioning. I'm so sorry, I get excited.
It's a point of privilege. The closed captions for this convention are running between 6 and 10 seconds behind. So it's just a request for the chairpersons to be aware. And when you move to a vote, I'm still reading the debate. So if we could just take a little pause, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Did you see because they're not allowed to clap. Because there's too many people, sensitive feelings, ears. Did you see how he said chairpersons? Because we're not allowed to say, chairman or chairwoman, because that gets you in jail. These are the degenerates that are now holding on to the Canadian, politicians. And this is what it's like living there. But it keeps getting better. Wait till they start calling each other comrades.
Yes, bonjour, hi. My name is Parker Tian. I'm representing Vancouver Quadra. Just to reply my Franco comrades' prior point of privilege earlier, as you can see, I do have one of the translating device. However, I'd like to raise this to the chair's concern that the sign-out process for this device is not necessarily the best.
We are so cooked. We are so cooked. Buddy went on to say that there's not enough pens and it was really hard to sign out a translator device, and fuck me.
So that lady from Canada doing Canada Intel.
Because billionaires understand something you were never taught. Here is how it works. A billionaire buys a super yacht for $150 million. 10 years later, it depreciates and it's worth $60 million. It costs $5 million a year just to keep it running. And nobody wants to buy it. So they don't sell it, they sink it. But here is what most people completely miss. The yacht doesn't fly an American flag. It flies a Cayman Islands flag. And that one detail changes everything. Because when a Cayman Islands flagged vessel sinks, Cayman Islands authorities investigate, not the US, not Interpol. The investigation finds mechanical failure. The insurance company pays out $150 million. Tax-free, clean, gone. Now here is where it gets suspicious. Between 2010 and 2020, over 40 super yachts sank. That is 10 times the sinking rate of commercial vessels. And when billionaires had their assets frozen overnight, the yachts started going down one by one. Because you can freeze a yacht, but you cannot freeze an insurance payout without proof of fraud. And proving fraud on an electrical fire that happened 200 miles offshore, investigating becomes nearly impossible. What about the crew? They evacuate safely. They sign an NDA. They get paid very well to remember nothing. So the next time you see a headline about a billionaire's yacht tragically sinking in international waters, understand this. That is not a tragedy. That is a $150 million asset being converted into untraceable cash. If you want to learn more about wealth, comment money, and I will personally send you my full playbook.
That was interesting.
Targeting critical infrastructure, including steel plants, cement factories, universities, power stations, and nuclear facilities. In US, Trump heavily criticized NATO as a paper tiger due to its lack of support on Iran war. US stocks suffered their worst week in months as war uncertainty and surging oil drove the S&P 500 down 7.4% since the conflict began. In UK, health experts warned that the ongoing war in Iran and the subsequent closure of the Strait of Hormuz will cause severe drug shortages in Britain within weeks. UAE authorities report they are facing the brunt of escalating Iranian aggression as strike intensity surges, intercepting 57 drones and ballistic missiles within 24 hours. In Israel, the WSJ reports Israel is rationing Arrow interceptors, relying on David's sling as Iranian missiles hit Dimona and Arad, raising doubts about the sustainability of its air defense shield. Iran proxies ramp up regional war. Iraq militias strike U.S. bases in Jordan. Hezbollah hits Israel. Houthis launch missiles and threaten Bab al-Mandab, sending shockwaves globally. In Taiwan, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers traveled to Taipei to pressure the Taiwanese parliament into passing a crucial $40 billion defense spending bill. In China, 4 universities, including 2 with military ties, bypassed U.S. export controls to acquire supermicro servers with restricted NVIDIA AI chips. In U.S., journalists calling the White House reported that their caller ID bizarrely displayed Epstein Island. Trump announced that the U.S. military has exactly 3,554 targets left to strike in Iran to complete its objective of dismantling the country's armed forces. In Kuwait, IRGC claimed they used Qadr ballistic missiles to attack 6 U.S. landing craft utility vessels in Kuwait, sinking 3 of them. Saudi Arabia is successfully pumping 7 million barrels of oil per day through an east-west pipeline to mitigate the economic impact of the Hormuz closure. Bank of America agreed to pay a $72.5 million settlement over allegations that it profited from maintaining financial ties with individuals close to Jeffrey Epstein. Hackers tied to the Iranian government successfully breached the personal email account of FBI Director Kash Patel.
Okay, another interesting one. This one might be interesting, Fine Eagle. 5 minutes.
Hey, MK, where are we going?
We're going to Milan.
Shh. Listen, you hear that? The chants echoing through the streets today. No King's Day. Oh, what a riot. Millions of blue-blooded sheep marching arm in arm, waving your little signs, screaming at the top of your lungs. It's adorable. Truly. Like kittens hissing at a lion. But here's the punchline, folks. The one that keeps me up at night laughing till I choke. You were the kings all along. You built the palace, polished the scepters, and bowed so low your noses scraped the marble floor. Now you cry foul. Look at this masterpiece. Your sleepy King Joe, draped in blue velvet like some doddering Caesar.
This okay?
All sparkles and smiles. Crowned. Without a single vote from the peasants, but oh no, he's the tyrant. You love a good smoke and mirrors, don't you? Don't you? Let's rewind the tape, shall we? Back to the glorious summer of 2024. Your grand old party, the Democrats, the defenders of democracy. They had a king on the throne, Joe Biden, mumbling his decrees, shuffling through the fog. But the polls, they whispered poison in your ears. He's done, they said. Too old, too frail. So what did you do? Did you let the people decide? No primaries for you. No messy little votes where the rabble gets a say. Oh no. You skipped the whole charade. Delegates, your hand-picked puppets, flipped the script overnight. Poof! Biden's out. In waltzes Kamala, anointed like some divine hair.
Oh, gee.
Not one primary ballot
Oh, my
marked in her
God.
name. Not a single soul in Iowa or New Hampshire whispering her glory. They crowned her. Your party elites sipping champagne in back rooms, deciding the fate of 330 million souls. And you cheered. Yeah! Unity! You squealed it. But now, when the shoe's on the other foot, when legal eagles try to clip his wings, you wail about authoritarianism.
Oh, this is actually
You're not fighting kings. You're just...
This is actually 10 minutes, you guys. This is kind of, I thought it was going to be different, but pretty funny, I think.
Mad yours lost the game. But wait, there's more. Oh, the irony's thicker than my grease paint. The same clowns screeching no kings today. Oh, they worship their idols just yesterday. Remember the plague years? That grand comedy called COVID? Oh, you bowed to Dr. Fauci like he was the high priest of salvation. Silence, you cried, hanging his face on every wall, every screen. Democrats in Congress called him a hero, thanking him for his masks, the lockdowns, and the endless jabs. Oh, he decreed from his ivory tower, masks for all, vax or bust. You obeyed. You praised him, defended him from the wolves howling. Witch hunt! Even when emails leaked, skirting records, pulling strings, you turned a blind eye. Your King Fauci with his mandates crashing lives like dominoes. Businesses burned, kids locked away. But question him? Oh no! That's hearsay. And don't get me started on your California Caesar, Gavin Newsom. The man who died maskless in the French Laundry while you peasants choked on takeout. Democrats across the land were obsessed. He's the future, they gushed. Polls showed 79% of you blue loyalists approving his every whim. His lockdowns, his decrees, his happy warrior grin as he trolled the opposition. He became your folk hero, the lead car in the resistance parade. Oh, they bowed to him like a god king, dreaming of 2028. And Biden, oh, your mandate maestro. Get vaccinated or get gone, he barked, firing federal workers, strong companies. Democrats, oh, you rallied behind it. It's for the greater good. You preached, even as your own senators squirmed. Compliance or chaos. Was your gospel. Millions lost jobs. Freedoms flickered out. It was fine. Because it was your throne. So here you are on No King's Day, pounding the pavement against one man's power grab. But look in the mirror, you little sheep. You crowned Fauci with blind faith. You worship Newsom's gold.
Lucy, I had some good ones at the beginning.
I moved your meeting, and your car will be here in 5.
Perfect. Look at this little beauty I found in the garden.
Nice.
Mandates that erase choices. Just like you tried to erase Trump from the ballot. Remember that farce? 2024's legal warfare. Democrat judges in blue states wielding the 14th like a guillotine. Insurrection, they crowed. Kicking him off lists in Colorado and Maine. Voter rights? Sacred. Unless it's his name on the line. You crashed the system with lawsuits, burned ballots in the courts. And when the Supreme Court slapped it down, you called it a coup. That's not democracy, darlings. That's authoritarianism with a blue sticker slapped on the corpse. You scream no kings to drown out the echo of your own scepters, clattering to the ground. The joke's on you. It always has been. In Washington or wherever you hide your thrones, we all wear masks. Yours just Say democracy. See you at the circus! No kings, they scream. No tyrants. But let's talk about the real royalty in D.C. Chuck Grassley, 50 years on the throne. Joe Biden, 48 years ruling the roost. Chuck Schumer, 44 years pulling strings. Mitch McConnell, 40 years in the castle. Nancy Pelosi, 38 years stacking gold. Bernie Sanders, 34 years preaching from the palace. And let's not forget about Maxine Waters, 35 years screaming from her fortress. Average age, 80 years old. Average time in office, 42 years. Average net worth, $52 million. And then there's Trump. 4 years and 5 months, but he's the king. Give me a break. No kings, they chant while they lock you down. No kings, but put your mask on, peasant. No kings, but take your 57 boosters or lose your job. No kings, but shut your business down and stay inside. Don't worship. No kings. Snitch on your neighbor and stay 6 feet apart. They censored your voice. They mandated your life. They got rich while you got rules. The kicker? They've been serving you for decades. Schumer, Sanders, Pelosi, they scream no kings, but they're career lords with a combined 200 plus years in power. Controlling every move you make. Telling you who's a king and who's the brave knight. You're told to fear your neighbor, not the geriatrics running the show. You're told to comply or you're the problem. You bought it. That's why you're out there marching, screaming, no kings, you poor pathetic peasant. You don't even know why you're there. You just want to belong to something. While they shut down your church, but riots were fine. They killed your businesses, but Walmart was open. They banned your gatherings, but their power? Untouchable. What's next? Well, it's just compliance, comrade. It's for the greater good. Wait till they say you can't shop, travel, or live without their latest decree. Think it won't happen? Oh, you already let them control where you go, what you say, and how you live. And you say, I don't do politics.
Yay.
I don't care about that stuff.
Might have to go to the beginning. I had some good stuff.
That's what these kings are counting on.
Happy Monday,
6 million Jews gone because people looked away. History always repeats when you let it. They've got you. Oh, they've got you. No fight, no questions, just obedience. Welcome to the kingdom.
Wow. Wasn't expecting that. That was a... I wish Hillary was on there. Hillary and Bill. All right, we got the next 3. We got the mask guy, and then we'll do a military video.
Story, but they do offer context worth considering. Big threats on my life by Iran. The entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work out, but they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I am surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service. 0 no votes, strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker.
So that was a short one. This will be
Operation Epic Fury is starting to look like the seeds of a ground campaign. The US is setting up for a ground invasion of Iran, and Iran's regime absolutely isn't ready. The ground invasion will change everything, and what happens next will be unbelievable. The incoming forces to Iran certainly indicate that a ground invasion is coming. The Telegraph reports that the US has sent around 2,000 soldiers from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Gulf, and that they're currently en route and will be ready to step into action if negotiations with Iran break down. They're being joined by similar numbers of US Marines from both the 31st and the 11th Marine Expeditionary Units, or MEUs, the former of which should be arriving in the Persian Gulf region at some point toward the end of March. These are all units that specialize in ground operations, with the Marine Expeditionary Units in particular often being the first to head in when the US launches a ground invasion. They served that role in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and the signs are starting to suggest they may do something similar in Iran as the US amasses a force of more than 6,000 elite soldiers around Tehran. All signs are pointing toward boots being put on the ground. Now that will change everything for Iran, and the regime knows it. That's why we're starting to see some major signs of desperation from Iran's regime mingling with attempts to prepare for the possibility that it will have to deal with US soldiers on its territory sooner rather than later. Karg Island offers the clearest signs of these preparations, along with a clue about one of the 4 ways we believe the US might choose to attack Iran by ground. According to the Jerusalem Post and CNN, Iran's regime is hurriedly trying to fortify Karg Island in anticipation of the US deploying its MEUs and paratroopers on the island. The former reported on March 26th that Iran has been busy laying traps all over the island, and that it has moved both military personnel and air defenses to the rocky little outcrop that plays a crucial role in the Iranian oil lifeline that is helping to keep the country's regime in power. And CNN says much the same thing, while also noting that around 90% of Iran's oil exports run through this one island, so the regime has a very clear desire to protect it. Without Karg, the oil money stops flowing, and the Strait of Hormuz becomes vulnerable. Anti-armor and anti-personnel mines are among the traps being laid on the island, CNN reports, with many of these mines reportedly being used to lace the shorelines that a US amphibious landing would inevitably have to negotiate. Iran's challenge with Karg Island is that much of the military infrastructure that already existed on the vital island has been destroyed in US airstrikes. What we see on the island now is a desperate attempt to bolster a military force that the US claims has already been shattered. On March 13th, the US totally obliterated the island's military facilities, US President Donald Trump claimed. Among what Iran lost on that day were missile storage bunkers and naval mine storage facilities, both of which would be vital in any defense that Iran tries to mount against America's amphibious forces. Air defenses, a helicopter hangar, and an airport control tower were also reportedly targeted in an attack clearly designed to cripple the Iranian military presence on Karg Island, perhaps ahead of the US putting the boots currently heading toward the Persian Gulf region on the ground on that island. But that's just one possibility. There are others that we'll get to, but Iran's desperation is also showing in how it's approaching negotiations with the US that could bring an end to Operation Epic Fury. It's not clear if these negotiations are even happening, as the US claims that they are, while Iran says that the US is negotiating with itself, followed by its regime claiming that it has no intention of negotiating right now. Now, these appear to be games being played by a regime that is very clearly worried that the US is about to take Operation Epic Fury to a new level, and Trump is clearly frustrated by it all. Taking to his Truth Social platform on March 26th, Trump declared, "The Iranian negotiators are very different and strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated, with zero chance of comeback. And yet they publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong." Trump then added that Iran's regime better get serious soon before it is too late. Because once that happens, there is no turning back, and it won't be pretty. Now, Iran can't receive a warning clearer than that. And as much as its regime is trying to act as though it is operating from a position of strength in negotiations that it claims aren't even happening, the fortification of Karg Island is the telltale sign that it is very worried about what the US is sending its way right now. Over 6,000 Marines and paratroopers are coming. But what might happen next could catch everybody, especially Iran's regime, completely off guard. Karg Island may not be the target for a ground invasion at all. In fact, attacking that island is only one of 4 potential approaches that the US could take as boots on the ground start to seem inevitable. The first scenario we're going to cover skips Karg Island altogether. America's plan might be to deal with Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, rather than to weaken the regime with an assault on its oil facilities on Karg Island. And to pull that off, the US would have to focus on the coastal regions in the strait, along with an entirely different island that is perhaps as strategically important to Iran as Karg Island, but for a different reason, enabling its Hormuz blockade. If this is indeed the plan, there are good reasons why the US would want to execute on it. Iran's Hormuz blockade has essentially closed a waterway through which about 20% of the world's oil, much of it from Gulf countries that aren't allied with Iran, flows. Iran is believed to have mined the shipping lanes established in that strait, and its blockade has resulted in oil prices jumping up to around $100 per barrel. Now, key to this blockade is the asymmetric approach that Iran has taken. Iran isn't sending warships into the Strait of Hormuz. They would be easy targets for America's overwhelming air power. Instead, Iran is using a combination of drones, anti-ship missiles, and fast boats to make crossing the Strait of Hormuz a very dangerous prospect for any merchant ship that would typically have used the waterway. And this is where the US ground forces come into play. Iran is able to exercise so much control in the Strait of Hormuz because its coast runs the entire 100-mile length of the waterway. And along that coast are hidden missile launch sites and makeshift ports that enable Iran's asymmetric approach. So what we could see from the US is the landing of its Marines, or perhaps airdrops of paratroopers who are tasked with taking out or holding key military nodes on the Strait of Hormuz coast, thus taking away Iran's ability to use those nodes in its blockade. And then comes the island that we mentioned earlier. Now, Keshem is an island that overlooks the Strait of Hormuz. It's the largest of the many islands that are in the Persian Gulf region. Though it's about 130 kilometers, or around 80.7 miles long, it's certainly vulnerable to a ground campaign. Now, you might wonder why the US would even bother though, given that Keshem is more known for its lush foliage and wildlife, which is why Iran applied for it to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in 2007. But behind the popular tourist destination lurks secrets that Iran doesn't want anybody to know about. Now, according to The Telegraph, hidden deep beneath the salt caves and mangrove forests that have for so long made Keshem a tourist hotspot is an underground missile city where Iran has stockpiled weapons that include the types of anti-ship munitions it has been using to target merchant ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And some of the tunnels in this missile city go as deep as 1,600 feet. So Iran's weapons are hiding away on an island that is perfectly positioned to...
Mexico versus Belgium, March 31st, Soldier Field in Chicago. Get your tickets now.
What if, in order to get insights, you didn't have to dig through dashboards anymore?
...aid in the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And for the US, the ground operation on that island would be a huge help when it comes to solving the Hormuz problem. Preceded by airstrikes, the 82nd Airborne Division could land paratroopers on Keshem, where they would seize military nodes and raid the tunnel network that Iran has built under the island. Combine that with MEU assaults against coastal military nodes, along with A-10 strafing runs over the Strait of Hormuz itself, and the US may have a military answer to the Hormuz problem. So that's one potential approach in terms of what comes next when America's ground forces arrive in the Persian Gulf region. But the next is a little more nebulous and certainly doesn't have the sort of direct route to victory that we see in this first strategy. But before we get to that, this is a quick reminder that you're watching The Military Show. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to hit that button. So second on the list of possibilities is that the US starts deploying special forces operatives for targeted missions inside Iran, which could extend to the destruction of military nodes or even the capturing of key personnel. And that's according to Ehud Eilam, who is a former official in the Israeli Ministry of Defense. Though Eilam notes that securing the Strait of Hormuz seems like the most logical step for the US. They may come and capture a certain objective, destroy some Iranian radar or some Iranian facility, take some generals into captivity. Now, the difference in this approach would be that the US would be focused on further degrading Iran's military capabilities, rather than attempting to capture and hold positions. Small operations teams could certainly play a role here. And on the leadership extraction point, we've seen the US pull off those kinds of operations in the very recent past. It was only in January that American special forces took Venezuela's former president, Nicolas Maduro, into custody with an extraction operation that penetrated deep into the heart of Caracas. So, the US has the capabilities to capture leaders. Now, whether the MEUs and paratroopers it's sending to Iran do is another question. Neither type of unit is designed for that purpose, though paratroopers could indeed help with degrading military nodes, perhaps in preparation for follow-on airstrikes. You also have to consider how useful the extraction of any of Iran's leaders would be at this point. Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion already took out former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei during the first day of the war with Iran, and dozens more military officials and political figures have been eliminated in the days since. Now, perhaps an argument could be made that extracting an Iranian leader, such as Ali Khamenei's son and new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, could give the US some leverage in negotiations. But it seems just as likely that Iran will continue on with a fractured leadership, just as it has been throughout Operation Epic Fury. Now, some isolated strikes against military nodes inside Iran are a possibility. Extracting leaders, perhaps less so, especially with the types of forces that the US is sending to the Persian Gulf region. And that brings us to the third option, which in turn brings us back to Karg Island. Now, we've already touched on the benefits of putting boots on the ground in Karg Island. It's an island, for starters, which is perfect territory for MEUs and can be targeted by paratroopers who are dropped into key positions on Karg. Plus, there's the 90% of Iran's oil exports issue. If the US can take control of the island's oil facilities, it will choke Iran's economy, which in turn gives it leverage that can be used to force the lifting of the Strait of Hormuz blockade. Or it'll just bankrupt the Iranian regime, forcing capitulation. Either option would be fine for the US. Now, an invasion of Karg Island is also very much possible. Former CENTCOM commander Joseph Fotel tells the War Zone, "I would imagine on a little island like Karg, a battalion-sized force of Marines or soldiers could probably do that. So you're probably looking at 800 to 1,000 troops kind of size, maybe a little bit smaller, probably not much larger than that," Votel claims. Again, this is very much MEU territory, and if Votel is correct, the US wouldn't even need the full force of the 2 MEUs that it's sending to Iran to take Karg Island. However, taking Karg Island isn't the issue. The real problem is this. Holding on to that island that is just 20 miles or so from the Iranian coast and would be a sitting duck for missile launchers and other types of attacks from the Iranian mainland. The Atlantic points out that this proximity to Iran, combined with the fact that the nearest friendly base is about 140 miles away, causes issues. It could put America's ground forces in a position where they're trying to hold Karg Island while they're constantly under attack and dealing with resupply missions that would inherently carry a lot of risk. Drones and missiles would fly constantly, and logistical support would be difficult for the US to provide as quickly as needed. Still, these are problems that can be solved, especially if the US forms a blockade around the island and transports enough air defenses to secure it as best as possible against the Iranian response. If America manages that, the juice could be worth the squeeze, as Iran's regime won't survive for very long, and the same goes for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, if it doesn't have access to the money generated by oil exports. Though Karg Island seems like
a steamy, relaxing spa, soothing eucalyptus bubble bath.
Clearest of the three options, based on the fact that the US has already hit its military facilities and has threatened to strike again, there is a fourth option: entering Iran and taking its uranium. Now, of the four options, this would be the most difficult, as it involves sending special forces deep into Iran to essentially take over the underground bunkers where Iran's enriched uranium is kept. That is far more than a destruction or extraction mission. The US would need to have enough soldiers in play to not only take the uranium sites, but to hold them against the inevitable Iranian counterattacks. As Votel points out, sites like Isfahan and Natanz are hundreds of miles inland and largely in open plain areas, which provide practically no terrain protection. A sizable force of anywhere between 1,000 and 4,000 troops would be needed to secure this kind of site long enough for the enriched uranium to be extracted. and the US would also need engineers and specialists who can conduct this extraction safely. Now, much like with the targeting of Iran's leaders, questions have to be asked about whether MEUs and paratroopers are built for this kinds of operations. They seem more like the preserve of Delta Force or the Navy SEALs, perhaps with support from MEUs and paratroopers. But who knows? Those sorts of special forces might already be on their way, and the US simply isn't telling anybody. What has been publicized so far could be for force projection, while secretive special forces units could also be en route to conduct the types of missions that the Marines and paratroopers that we know are heading to don't do. Now, if this is the route that the US takes, the big risks that come with it could also offer some big rewards. Iran's nuclear weapons program was a huge trigger for Operation Epic Fury. Though Iran isn't believed to have nuclear weapons capabilities right now, it's clearly working to put itself in a position where it could build a basic nuke. And that much is clear from the sheer size of the stockpile of enriched uranium that is in the country. According to the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation, that stockpile amounts to 440.9 kilograms, or about 972 pounds of uranium that's been enriched up to 60% of the U-235 isotope. This is the explosive isotope that makes the types of nukes Iran would want to build possible. And worse yet, the center says Iran has already completed 99% of the work it needs to do to enrich its uranium further to hit the 90% of U-235 needed to build a nuclear weapon. Now, in other words, Iran says that it doesn't have a nuke and it may be telling the truth, but it could build one. And that's a problem that the US might look to solve by sending soldiers into Iran to extract as much of its enriched uranium as possible. This isn't a one-day operation for the US, though. It would need several days to package and extract Iran's uranium, and with that time comes the need to defend its troops as they do their work. Now, any of the four scenarios that we've presented here would change everything for Iran and Operation Epic Fury. That would represent the type of escalation that Iran's regime never expected, with each also being designed to strip Iran of key pieces of leverage it wants to use to keep itself alive in this fight. Losing Karg Island means no more oil money. The US putting boots on the ground in the Strait of Hormuz and Qashm would be a problem for Iran's blockade strategy. If leaders are extracted, that gives the US more negotiating power. And the loss of its enriched uranium, which would likely be accompanied by the controlled destruction of centrifuges and other vital equipment, would cripple Iran's nuclear plans. All could push Iran closer to regime change too. Speaking to CBN News, former deputy commander of Israel's Sayeret Matkal Special Forces Unit, Doron Kempel, claims that there are likely generals in the IRGC who are frustrated and willing to defect. And he adds that both the US and Israel will have operatives on the ground working under deep cover to push these defections along. At the decisive moment, when the IRGC's collapse is imminent, these generals could rally their forces, link up with Mossad and CIA operatives, and ignite a full-scale internal revolution from within, Kempel tells CBN News. Perhaps US boots on the ground could provide that decisive moment. Now, if it does, Iran's regime won't be losing a key piece of leverage, no matter which of these options the US chooses. It would also be primed to lose the very seat of power that it has held for decades. What seems almost certain is that the largest US ground invasion in Iran's history is about to go down, and it could change everything. We've mentioned America's MEUs several times already, and if you want to find out more about what they are and what they could do in Iran, then check out our video. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe as we track America's moves.
So that's a new channel I've been following there. That was a good one. I got a few short ones for a bit. The weather's nice today. Chico's wound up, so I hope you guys are hearing the video. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain. You guys see these 3 clips here? It's about 5 minutes each.
Do you consider yourself a conservative?
I am a conservative, yes.
Okay. Are you pro-life?
I am pro-life.
Okay. Does that trigger people when you see them, that they know that you're pro-life?
It makes them very upset.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Do you hate Americans with black skin color?
Absolutely not. I actually love Americans with black skin color so much that I'm willing to fall on the sword 1,000 times for them to wake up and realize that we are being lied to, abused, and used by the Democrat Party.
Candace Owens walked into that congressional hearing and the Democrats already had her marked, not as an expert, not as a witness, but as a conservative, a label, a target. The Republican congressman had one question: do you hate black people? What followed was one of the most powerful moments you will ever see in a congressional hearing room. A black conservative woman dismantling every single narrative the left had built about her in under 5 minutes. Let's roll the tape.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Owens, I'm going to direct these questions to you, if I may. I don't know that you've seen this, but it's a memorandum that the majority Democrats prepare for the committee members. And in this memorandum, they go through the various witness names and present the Anti-Defamation League, Equal Justice Society, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and then we get to you. Oh my goodness. Candace Owens, Director of Communications at the conservative. Nobody else is described as progressive or liberal, but you are described as a conservative advocacy group, Turning Point USA, and a conservative commentator and political activist known for her criticism of Black Lives Matter and the Democrat Party. I think you've caused my friends on the left to go to their safe spaces, and I'd love to explore with you a little bit of the reason for that. Do you consider yourself a conservative?
I am a conservative, yes.
Okay. Are you pro-life?
I am pro-life.
Okay. Does that trigger people when you see them, that they know that you're pro-life?
It makes them very upset, and Democrats hate me.
Do you own a gun?
Pardon?
Do you own a gun?
No, sir.
When next time you come to Colorado, we'll take you shooting. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
Are you proud of your family?
I'm very proud of my family.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Do you hate Americans with black skin color?
Absolutely not. I actually love Americans with black skin color so
safe spaces, and I'd love to explore with you a little.
Okay, part 2 coming up. What do you guys think so far?
and realize that we are being lied to, abused, and used by the Democrat Party.
How about Americans with white skin color? Do you hate them?
I do not, and that's a problem for people on the left.
Do you hate Hispanics?
I do not.
Do you hate Asians?
I do not.
Do you hate lesbians or gays or anybody from the LGBTQ community?
Nope, I've got all of that in my family.
I'm baffled because in the chairman's opening statement, he said that you openly associate with purveyors of hate.
Yes, purveyors of hate by his definition is anybody that supports the president. I support the president because he's done a tremendous job in helping the Black community, despite all of the rhetoric from the media and leftists who do not want him to be successful.
Tell me a little bit about how the president has helped the Black community, if you would, please.
Well, he's lowered the Black unemployment rate. It's the lowest it's ever been in the history. He's getting us off of our feet. We see, I believe the last number I checked was 3.5 million people are off of food stamps, something that the Black caucus sat down and didn't applaud. Neither did any of the Democrats applaud, because they want a system where Blacks are dependent on the government. They are the people that put in place the policies that broke down the Black family. And the biggest problem that's facing our community is father absence. In every room that I've been in with the president, he talks about real issues, and he doesn't pander to us. He doesn't do Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Southern drawl accent and speaking to us like we're slaves. He asks us important questions. And the most important question he could have asked was, Black America, what do you have to lose? Because we were already losing under Democrat leadership.
Do you believe that you openly associate with purveyors of hate?
I absolutely do not. I have no tolerance for hate whatsoever.
Do you believe that college campuses should be open discussions, or there should be open discussions on college campuses for various issues?
I absolutely do. You know, I do a campus tour tonight. I'm flying up to University of Connecticut to continue that, and we are being met with aggressive leftist groups. 3 Antifa chapters have declared they're going to try to shut it down, and we face this violence every day on the left, and nobody ever wants to talk about it.
And I guess what I was going to ask you, you went on to explain it before I got a chance to, but have you ever been disinvited from speech opportunities at college campuses because of your conservative views?
all the time.
Is that a form of hatred, do you think?
Of course it is. And we're not talking enough about political hatred in this country. We're not talking enough about conservative activists being attacked like myself. We had a student whose dorm was set on fire for being a member of the Turning Point chapter. And all we preach is for free markets and capitalism as a means to lift the most people out of poverty. That is my belief. And of course, my main thesis is that Black people do not have to be Democrats, and we are not owned by the left. And I understand that causes some people trouble.
So as a conservative, you've attended many conservative events and visited with many.
So much that I'm willing to fall on the sword.
Hey, last part.
That there are white supremacists and we should condemn white supremacists, that there are Nazis and we should condemn Nazis, that there are hateful groups all across the political spectrum and we should condemn those. But in your interactions with conservatives, have you seen hateful speech, bigotry, race among the conservatives that you've associated with?
I speak in front of conservatives probably 3 times a week. I jump on a stage and I say everything pro-Black, and they are so supportive and they applaud. All they want is for Black Americans to realize that they are Americans first and foremost. Conservatives are patriots. The president is a patriot and I'm a patriot, and there is no skin color in patriotism.
Thank God we have.
Let's break down exactly what happened. The Democrat majority came to that hearing with a memo. They described every other witness neutrally. But Candace Owens got a label: conservative advocacy group, conservative commentator, political activist known for criticizing Black Lives Matter and the Democrat Party. Before she said a single word, they had already told the room who she was supposed to be. 2 big moments. First, the questions that exposed the left's narrative. The Republican congressman walked Owens through a simple series of questions. Are you conservative? Yes. Are you pro-life? Yes. Are you Christian? Yes. Do you hate Black Americans? Absolutely not. Do you hate white Americans? No. Hispanics? No. Asians? No. LGBTQ community? No. Every single answer demolished the Democrat memo's characterization of her as a purveyor of hate. And then she delivered the line that hit hardest. I love Black Americans so much that I'm willing to fall on a sword 1,000 times for them to wake up and realize we are being lied to, abused, and used by the Democrat Party. Second, the truth about conservatives that nobody wanted to hear. Owens told that hearing room that she speaks in front of conservative audiences 3 times a week, says everything pro-Black, and they applaud every single time. Because all conservatives want is for Black Americans to realize they are Americans first and foremost. She talked about campus tours being shut down by Antifa, students having their dorms set on fire for being Turning Point members, conservatives,
and I
hope that was okay for you guys. All right, see where we're at here. Let's do a couple fitting videos.
Far we were willing to go.
One thing I've learned is that dental health is a big deal for pets, and it's not prioritized as much as it should. Teeth brushing every day is...
About 10 minutes.
What we found in California, we're zeroing in on hospice.
We play this one.
And hospice is like the program everyone in America supports. That's at the end of your life. When the hospice comes in to take care of you and your family in your deepest, darkest days, this program has been massively defrauded in California, specifically in Los Angeles County, to the tune of about $3.5 billion. That's just in one county in California, the fraud. So we're going to try to do what we can to help the Department of Justice get on the ground there and start prosecuting actual people for defrauding hospice, and I'm sure there are a host of other social programs. All of your social programs in these blue states are being defrauded. You've got illegals receiving benefits. You've got duplicate names receiving benefits. You have shyster contractors, like what you saw with the Somali fraud, with the Leering Center and all of that stuff. Those are the people that need to be prosecuted. All we can do in Congress, all I can do as chairman of the House Oversight Committee, all Jim Jordan can do as chairman of the Judiciary Committee is investigate and refer to the Department of Justice. So I take a lot of flack because nobody's been arrested. I remind everyone that's the Attorney General's job. That's in the Trump administration. But we're doing everything we can in Congress to help the Department of Justice be successful. And I think we're seeing success in Minnesota. Now, I'd like to see a whole lot more success everywhere else.
So you said last night that Gavin Newsom better lawyer up. How much of this do you think goes back to the governor's desk, Mr. Chairman?
Because there have been audits for several years that have specifically pointed to hospice fraud in Los Angeles County. Yet Gavin Newsom did nothing about it. There were no guardrails. I'll give you an example. There are no guardrails to prevent a foreign country from claiming they're performing hospice duties in Los Angeles County and billing the government. 18% of all the hospice billing in America was in Los Angeles County. That's the level of fraud. That's not 18% of the population. That's not even 1% of the population. And it's just an example of where anyone that with any common sense, that cared anything about the American taxpayer, that cared anything about preventing fraud, could see that this was a problem, not only in California, but specifically in Los Angeles County. And yet he did nothing about it until now. We've announced the investigation. Well, he's announced he's putting additional guardrails on, and he's fired, several dozen contractors that were defrauding hospice and all that. Where have you been, Governor Newsom? And that's what we found in Minnesota. Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison knew about this, even when they were confronted by state employees. So what we hope happens in California is what we had happen in Minnesota, where we have brave whistleblowers come forward for a congressional investigation to be successful. Because we're not the FBI. We don't have the ability to bust through the door and apprehend anyone or get documents other than through subpoena. What we have to have to be successful are whistleblowers, credible whistleblowers. We know there's a whistleblower in California that made some accusations years ago that turned out to be 100% true about the fraud in California. We hope that whistleblower will reach out to me and we can get them in an interview under oath to begin the process of bringing in Gavin Newsom.
So you are looking right now for and potentially have whistleblowers from inside of the fraud super system of California, and you are then going to be leveraging that against the governor's stewardship of the state.
Yeah, and I hope they see what we did in Minnesota. We protected those whistleblowers. They were not harassed. They were treated. We gave them whistleblower protection status. We worked with, we made it clear that Minnesota could not retaliate against those whistleblowers. And everything we did was right in how you deal with whistleblowers blowing the whistle on a major fraud scheme. Because it takes guts to step forward and blow the whistle on massive fraud, especially if you're a career government employee. So we hope that what we demonstrated in Minnesota with the respect to those whistleblowers will bleed over into California and Illinois and New York and all the other states where we know there's rampant fraud.
Hello, I'm Perry Johnson, the outsider businessman running for governor.
Do you currently have whistleblowers right now from the state of California?
We have some targets that we're trying to encourage to come in. And, you have to build that trust level. And I think one thing the Democrats have done, you go back to the Biden investigation where you had Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, and they harassed those whistleblowers. Democrats love whistleblowers that blow the whistle on Donald Trump, but they don't want whistleblowers to blow the whistle on any of their shenanigans and schemes. And we're trying to set the example on the oversight committee, the way we treated those whistleblowers in Minnesota. I hope that leads to more whistleblowers coming forward. And sometimes whistleblowers blow the whistle and they're not telling the truth, or what they think is happening isn't happening. We made sure we vetted everything, and 100% of what we published in our report on Minnesota was factual, based on hours and hours and hours of transcribed interviews and hours of steady research.
What type of culpability is there, since you've, I believe, completed, or at the very least contributed a report on Minnesota? What type of culpability would there be for the Attorney General in Minnesota or for Tim Walz?
Well, honestly, I think the Attorney General has more liability. You can always plead ignorance, and ignorance usually prevails, unfortunately, in a lot of court cases in these liberal states with liberal judges. But you've got the recording that we've all heard of Ellison meeting with those Somali fraudsters saying, "Don't worry about it, I'll get them off your back," when they were nailed for fraud. And those fraudsters turned around and made a big campaign donation to Keith Ellison. That was played in our committee hearing, and this Senate had a committee hearing with Ellison. I can't remember which committee, but they played it. So that's something the Department of Justice could use to go after him. Walz is going to play the ignorance card, which he does very well. It's going to be hard to beat Walz in court playing the ignorant card. But you're seeing people go to prison in Minnesota for fraud, and that's what people want. I think with the big politician, a realistic goal, when you say, what does accountability look like? Let the American people know. We let the American people know that Joe Biden's family was on the tape, and a few months later, Joe Biden drops out of the presidential race. Now, there may have been other reasons, but that certainly didn't help. You go in Minnesota, when we started the investigation in Minnesota, Tim Walz dropped out of the governor's race. This is a guy that was just, a few million votes from being vice president of the United States, dropped out of the governor's race because of this fraud. Gavin Newsom is the front runner for the Democrat nomination in 2028. We'll see what happens here. And I think that we've got to, especially the people that watch this show are passionate about, going after the deep state and going after these corrupt politicians. We have to look at, what is achievable from a congressional standpoint, and shining the light on the corruption, letting the American people know how corrupt some of these politicians are. I think that's a pretty big win, because it's had an adverse effect on their electoral success. And we're not doing it for political reasons. We're doing it for the taxpayers. That's who I represent on the oversight committee, the American taxpayers. And the taxpayers are being fleeced. They're being fleeced in all 50 states, but they're really being fleeced in these blue states with these governors who look in the mirror and think they're a future president of the United States.
Okay, that's the first Benny. I got a second Benny. We got two Dougs coming up.
I'm gonna get you, Gavin!
One of the challenges the state authorities are having, just so that your audience understands, and I didn't fully understand this, is that if they go in and arrest people right now, they're not going to maybe not be able to turn those people into like confidential informants against the higher ups. So we can, I think people can be arrested tomorrow. It's just a question of, we want to know who's behind it. So my team is currently in the field finding out who's behind it. We even, Benny, went into the homes of one of the bad guys. They let us in, and they were kind of flipping on their bosses. So we, the citizens.
Hey, Terry. The people that are just coming in, make sure you guys go to the beginning, because we played some good stuff at the beginning today. And I forgot my time yesterday was messed up. Today is supposed to be 3 to 7. So we're doing 4 hours. This is my game starting up now. Baseball and basketball and everything. So we're just going to do a full 4 hours.
And journalists are kind of doing the job of the FBI. I mean, this is what really the billion-dollar Leviathan should be doing. And I think that's a sign of the times, really, is what it is. This is why it requires small, independent, no red tape citizen journalists to do the job. But I'm frustrated. Like I'm getting,
I don't think I played
punched in the neck. We're my team. They're here. Andrew's a hero. Cam Higby's a hero. He had pepper spray to make sure I wasn't killed. But we're risking our lives to do this. And the only thing we ask is that somebody be arrested, and that the billion-dollar media corporations take a risk and put it on the air, because we're taking the risk. So I'm a little bit frustrated here, but I'm going to keep fighting like hell and keep releasing a tape every day.
Yeah, I mean, if you can play Nick Shirley's stuff, then surely you can play this. I mean, this, as much as there's an illusion.
Well, they got sued for the Dominion lawsuit, so they're worried about liability. But again, if you've got billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, I don't have billions of dollars. Cam Higby doesn't have billions of dollars. Anthony Rubens doesn't have any money. Savannah Hernandez works for. I mean, so if independent people are risking everything to bring the truth to the American people, I think it's important for our institutions to just for a second to do the right thing and to put the truth over profits. I'm not going to stop. I'm putting pressure on. We got new tape coming out today, but if you haven't seen it, this latest investigation in Skid Row, you got dozens and dozens of instances of cash given to, they get a piece of paper, they say, here, vote in this person's name. It's pretty remarkable footage there on Skid Row. And the disenfranchised voters are saying they're outraged after being shown their name was used to vote on this California ballot petition.
So it's a pretty critical question, is what's to stop this from happening in every election? I mean, what you're showing here is not just the signatures. You're showing like the actual voting. You're showing that they're just forging people's ballots and their names. And we've heard about this. We've seen plenty of reports about it. Nobody seems to be particularly concerned, because these mail-in balloting systems, and when it's illegal to ask for a voter ID, you can just do this. You could just vote. Like, you could just rig every single election and just have homeless people do it. Seems to me like maybe the reason to have so many homeless people and illegals in California would be this system.
This is happening tens of thousands of times. But the problem is, the New York Times Sunday wrote, this doesn't happen. So we don't share realities. And you say that we already know this. People say we already know this is happening. Actually, I would disagree. I think people don't know this is happening. And further, I think there's a difference between hearsay and circumstantial evidence, like people wearing gloves, doesn't mean they're committing voter fraud. I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the reports. It's always circumstantial, right? You never get the smoking gun. You never catch them in the act. The reason why Gavin Newsom is not attacking me right now, and he's going, oh, we got to arrest these people, which is, people were surprised by that, by the way. Well, the reason why Gavin Newsom is not attacking me is because the crime is caught on video. I mean, it's a constitutional crisis, So, there has to be an arrest. There has to be. If there isn't, I mean, after this, then, I mean, your point is well taken. I could go to every other state and do it. And that's what muckraker.com had an idea yesterday, because I had him on, and he said, you know what, maybe we need to go to every other state, and do the same damn thing. I think that's probably what we'll do. But if nobody is arrested after being on the videotape, literally forging a signature and giving cash to vote in other people's names, we're in a state of constitutional crisis that shocks the conscience. So I'm glad that President Trump posted on Truth Social about it. I'm calling on Pam Bondi to go in front of a microphone and talk about it and tell us the status. There's Trump talking about it. He says it's terrible. But I think the Department of Justice needs to, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a hybrid approach. You rate them, you flip some people on others, but there's got to be perp walks. There's got to be handcuffs. I mean, I've been handcuffed 3 times. You know about that. FBI raided my home. I was arrested in 2010. I've been arrested. So there has to be somebody has got to be arrested this week, period. End of story. And if not arrest, then go on television and tell us about what you think about this tape. That's what has to happen.
Where does this go, James? You say that you have people potentially flipping on the higher-ups. Who are the higher-ups? What does your gut tell you?
Well, right now, I have people in the field.
The money's coming from somewhere.
Yes, it is.
You know, and it's a lot of money. Even if it's $5 per signature to the homeless person, there's like suitcases of hundreds of thousands of dollars where the $5 comes from, right?
That's correct. You've got a huge audience. So if I say what it is right now, it might hurt my ability over the next few days to continue getting it. But
of course,
there's petitioners and there's coordinators, and it appears as though this is like organized crime. And the thing about organized crime is it's extremely dangerous. So you could have gangs involved in this. There are companies that do this, but they're criminal actions. So there's out-of-state people that come into California. They make a lot of money. And we've been given the names of those companies, and we're currently tracking them down. But yeah, James O'Keefe and Cam Higbee and Savannah Hernandez and Anthony Rubin and John Cho has a report out today. We are going to find the higher-ups and expose them. But I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, without accountability, what does it matter? What does it matter? If no one is held accountable, does bringing it to I guess the question for your audience is a rhetorical question. Do you want me to continue doing this? Do you want me to continue exposing it? Does it even matter? I mean, that's a rhetorical question. I'm not going to answer that. Because I can stop. I can give up. I can retire. But I'm not gonna put my life in harm's way and my people's life, because they were almost killed, for nothing. It's not worth it. I think you would agree with that. So I can go away. I can be on a sabbatical until someone is arrested. But I'm not going to put my people's life in danger every week for nothing to happen. That's honest. I'm just being vulnerable and transparent with the world. I'm not going to get killed. I saw what happened to Charlie Kirk. I don't want to die. I need to stay on this earth to keep exposing the truth. So I can go on vacation. I can go away. And when y'all are going to arrest somebody, I'll come back. Because I'll tell you what, getting punched in the neck, having nobody get arrested, it's not right. It's immoral is what it is. And the Republicans are in power. The Attorney General of the United States has the jurisdiction to arrest someone tomorrow. I haven't seen any statements on the internet or on Fox News or anywhere else about this. And I frankly, I get there's egos involved, but I think it's a form of cowardice. I'm glad the president is talking about it. I think he should continue to talk about it. And I will continue to keep releasing videos this week. But I'm pissed off. And I'm pissed off because my friend and my closest colleague was violently assaulted and came an inch from we came an inch from losing our lives. Knives and guns there. And I need something to happen. I really need something to happen. Otherwise, I'm going to have to stop doing what I'm doing. And I don't know what else to say.
He's right.
The waterfall of thanks for you is happening in real time. I mean, I can put up the comments right now, but you can see how everybody is saying, never stop, go get them, praying for you right now. Yes, yes, keep going, James, keep going, James. Enough is enough. Yes, keep going, James. Yes, from Hawaii. There you go. It's plenty of this in Hawaii. Yes, expose away. The people are behind you, but I understand what it feels like to be, frustrated and black-pilled, and to wonder, like, will anything ever happen? I guess coming up right after you is going to be James Comer, and he's getting seated right now. What he's set? Okay, what would be your suggestion for James Comer? He has subpoena power in the House.
My suggestion is for James Comer to look at the tape we released yesterday. I don't know James Comer, but I believe him to be a good man. Look at the video, James. Congressman, correct?
of course. Yes.
Congressman Comer,
oversight chairman.
Oversight chairman, even better. Share the video with your colleagues on Capitol Hill. I've got Mike Casey on the Hill right now, knocking on every single door of the people with the SAVE Act. I look at the video, share the video, have the courage to talk about this video. That's all I ask. We don't want to talk about election fraud. That's going to get us sued. This is not a circumstantial tape. This is a video evidence of it's like the old cartoons with the bank robbers with the bag of money. Like, that's what this is. So have the courage to talk about it, Congressman, and share it with your colleagues. And then ask your friends in the White House and in the executive branch of government what they're going to do about it. That's all I ask you to do. Simply ask the question, hey, what are you going to do about it? Because you're in power. I don't have the power to arrest people. That's what my request for James Comer would be.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the great James O'Keefe, two great Jameses back to back, the great James O'Keefe on here demanding action. At some point, you have to see positive results if you're willing to risk your life for something. Otherwise, people are just not going to believe it anymore. You have to see it. This is why people are perfectly happy to die for their faith. But why millions and millions of men have stood throughout time to die for Christianity is because they know it to be true. They know it to be powerful. If you have somebody like James willing to risk his life for the truth, you have to be willing to show that something's going to happen and the world's going to change in a more positive way.
Okay, we got 2 in. I'm going to do some short ones now, you guys. Still no Billy Bean.
Millions of conservative voters, all right? Well, typically what happens is you go and share that data with the conservative voter database that there is, and there's like safeguards around that and stuff. No, not TPUSA. Superfeed Technologies does not provide data and feed it into that database. They're building their own parallel conservative database. Let's talk about their board really quick. We have Tyler Boyer. He sits as the chairman of the board. And Tyler Boyer was the COO of Turning Point USA. He's now Erica Kirk's right-hand man. In 2011, he had his house foreclosed on. And around then, he had his wages garnished because he had gotten some HOA dispute. I don't care about that. Everyone's got their shit. But in 2021, he decides to put $695,000 down on a $1.95 million property and buy a $200,000 ski boat. Okay, so you've worked for TPUSA for, I don't know, upwards of 6 to 8 years. It's $1.3 million-ish before taxes. Yeah, this is a red flag, bro. Math isn't mathing. Maybe it's those ghost employees, but that doesn't make sense. But it's okay, because we're going to come back to that in a different episode. Then we have the co-founder, Todd Seferati. He ran a PAC that got $496,000 in donations, and not $1 went to a political figure. So they were shut down, and we're in a lawsuit with the FEC, allegedly. Todd also ran a company that collected elderly people's data and then used it to then sell them reverse mortgages, because he's just a gem. Then we have Jeff DeWitt. He was the treasurer for Arizona. I really think I'm starting to need to look into Arizona. Well, he was caught on tape bribing Carrie Lake to drop out of the racing. He had connections in Washington, blah, blah, blah. He also got in trouble with the NASDAQ. He had some insider trading issues. He had to pay a $100,000 fine because he ran an investment fund. Then you have the founder who lives in Israel, still trying to figure out why he wants your data. Oh, but I don't think it's him that wants it. Then you have Erica Kirk's mom, who's a defense contractor, because why wouldn't she want to be involved in a company that, collects conservative voter data? Like, that makes so much sense. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. You do you. But if I had those apps on my phone, I would be deleting them, scrubbing myself, showering, because something doesn't smell right. It's just my opinion. We're just asking questions over here. Also, I am of sound mind. I would never harm myself. My husband would never harm me. I can't believe I have to say that, but I think we're there. See everything you do on those apps.
Okay, the first one.
deep end. TSA lines are a nightmare. So Trump sends
Never
ICE
about
in
this
to
one, you
actually
guys.
help. And Jeffries decides the real danger isn't chaos at the airport. It's that ICE might actually do their jobs. He's basically telling his troops to stir up another spectacle, like in Minneapolis, where a stunt like this ended with 2 Americans dead because some people thought defying law enforcement was heroic. Meanwhile, over at NBC, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he snaps. He stares down Kristen Welker and basically says, your research team needs to be fired yesterday. And then he calmly explains why the media's narrative about Trump and Putin is, well, completely bonkers. Let me know down below if you think adding ICE to help TSA lines is a smart idea, or will it only add to the chaos? Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and welcome to all our new faces here. We are thrilled you are joining the party, where common sense and sarcasm collide with the latest political headlines. Let's get into it. Tensions are exploding at airports nationwide as TSA lines stretch for hours thanks to a government shutdown caused by Democrats refusing to fund DHS. And what do we get? Absolute chaos, like watching a toddler wrestling match at MSY International Airport. Check out this footage of a New Orleans sheriff's deputy absolutely losing it on travelers who were fighting while waiting in a 3-hour TSA line. This guy sounds exactly like dad on a 12-hour road trip, right? When the kids are brawling in the back seat. Act like children. Don't be surprised when someone has to step up and be the adult in the room. And as President Trump reminds us, you can thank the Democrats for all of this mess. The Democrats are willing to go to the mat for illegal immigrants. But guess who always ends up bruised in these wrestling matches? The American people, you. Well, enter Trump, who loves to think outside the box. So he orders ICE agents to step in and fill the gaps at the airports getting hit the hardest. A practical and partial solution to the problem. But of course, the media already laying the...
Sorry about that one. Yeah, I got 2 new ones here we'll do. These are 5-minute each. There's a lot of clips. It's hard to keep track of it.
That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April.
Imagine this for a moment. You wake up one morning and your financial life has changed. Your situation is different. You have more money than you've ever had before. And then one day, your phone rings and someone asks you for money. That moment right there is one of the most important moments of your entire financial life. Because that moment is not really about money. It's about pressure. It's about emotions. It's about relationships. And most people are not prepared for that moment because nobody teaches you what to do when people start asking you for help, for loans, for business ideas, or for financial support. The first request will probably not come from a stranger. It will come from someone you know, maybe a friend, maybe family, maybe someone you grew up with. And the reason this moment is so important is because the first decision you make about money often sets the pattern for every decision that comes after that. If you say yes to everyone, the money can disappear faster than you think. But if you say no to everyone, you can damage relationships that matter to you. So the real question is not just, do I have money? The real question is, how do I handle money and people at the same time? Because that is much harder than just making money. Many financial advisors around the world actually give the same advice to people who suddenly receive large amounts of money. They say, do not make big decisions in the first few months. Do not lend money quickly. Do not sign business deals quickly. And do not feel pressured to solve everyone's problems immediately. This may sound harsh, but there is a reason for this advice.
Okay.
When people suddenly receive money, the biggest danger is not bad investments. The biggest danger is emotional decisions. Decisions made because you feel guilty, or because you feel you owe everyone something, or because you don't want people to be upset with you. So a smart strategy that many wealthy families use is this. They don't say yes or no immediately. They say, let me think about it. Let me speak to my advisor. Let me look at my plan. This creates space between the request and the decision, and that space can save your financial future. Because the goal is not just to have money for a short time. The goal is to build a life where the money lasts, where it helps your family long term, and where it creates stability, not stress and conflict. Money can be a blessing, but if it's handled without a plan, it can also create problems between people who used to get along very well. So maybe the real test is not when money arrives. Maybe the real test is the first time someone asks you for money, and you have to decide what kind of person you are going to be, what kind of future you want, and how you are going to manage not just your money, but your relationships too. Because in the end, money is not just about numbers in a bank account. Money is about decisions. And the decisions you make in the beginning often determine whether that money will still be there many years from now.
The new Panera Mix and Match menu.
Pretty good.
Choose 2 or more, just $4.99 each.
Oh,
Green from Glendale.
that was over at that one. I got a second one here.
Signature is expected to appear as paper money. This change is linked to the 250th anniversary of American independence, and it may represent more than just a design change, because throughout history, when a country changes its money, it often signals that something bigger is changing behind the financial system. So the important question is not just whose signature is on the money. The important question is this: why change the money at all? Why now? Why, during a time when the world economy is already changing, digital currencies are being developed, and central banks around the world are buying more gold than they have in decades? To understand why this matters, we need to go back in history for a moment. The US dollar was not always just paper. Before 1971, the dollar was linked to gold. This meant that money represented something real, something physical, something that could not simply be printed. But in 1971, President Nixon ended the gold standard, and the world moved into the age of fiat money, money backed by trust instead of gold. Since that moment, the global financial system has been built on debt, credit, and confidence in governments. And for many years, the system worked. But over time, debt levels grew higher, money printing increased, and inflation became part of everyday life. Which raises a very important question. If money is only backed by trust, what happens when people start losing trust? This is one of the reasons why gold is becoming an important topic again. Gold cannot be printed. Gold cannot be created on a computer. Gold has been used as money for thousands of years across different empires and different civilizations. And when countries become uncertain about the future of paper money, they usually start buying gold. And that is exactly what central banks around the world have been doing. Now here's where things get interesting. At the same time that the world is buying more gold, the United States is preparing new currency for the 250th anniversary. New bills, new coins, and new designs are being discussed. And whenever new currency is introduced, it always raises the same question. Will the system behind the money also change? Because changing the design of money is easy. But changing what money is backed by, that changes everything. It changes inflation. It changes interest rates. It changes savings. It changes how countries trade with each other. And it changes who has financial power in the world. So the real question is this: if the system changes, who benefits? Throughout history, when money systems changed, wealth did not disappear. Wealth moved. It moved into new systems, new assets, new industries, and new technologies. And the people who benefited the most were usually not the people who reacted first, but the people who understood first. So maybe the most important question right now is not just what the government is doing. Maybe the most important question is this: do you understand how money actually works? Because most people work for money, but very few people ever learn how money itself works. And when the system changes, that knowledge can become very valuable. Think about this for a moment. If a country ever decided to link its currency to gold again, even partially, it would mean that money is no longer just paper. It would mean money represents something real again. And that would change how people save, how people invest, and how governments manage their economies. But whether the future is gold-backed money, digital money, or a combination of both, one thing is very clear. The global financial system is changing. It is becoming more digital, more connected, and possibly more asset-backed. And big system changes always create big opportunities, but only for the people who are paying attention. So maybe the real question is not whether a new dollar is coming or whether gold will be involved. Maybe the real question is this: if the money system changes in the next few years, will you be ready? Will you understand what is happening? Or will you only hear about it after everything has already changed? Because money is not just paper. Money is a system of trust. And when a country changes its money, it is usually because something in the system is changing. And right now, all over the world, we can see signs that the system is slowly changing. The people who usually do well during times like this are not the people who panic. And they are not the people who ignore what is happening. They are the people who stay calm, who learn, who watch, and who try to understand the system instead of just reacting to the headlines. So as you watch the world of money change, maybe ask yourself this one simple question: am I only working for money, or am I also learning how money works? Because the people who understand the system are usually the people who recognize opportunities when the system changes. And maybe that is the most important message of all. Don't just watch the news. Don't just listen to opinions. Learn how the system works. Learn what gold is. Learn what inflation is. Learn what digital money is. Because when you understand the system, you don't have to be afraid of change. You can be prepared for it. The world of money has changed many times before. Empires changed. Money changed. Systems changed. And every time the system changed, some people lost money, and some people built wealth. The difference was usually not luck. The difference was understanding. So the question is not just whether the dollar will change, or whether gold will return, or whether digital money will grow. The real question is this: when the system changes, on which side of the change will you be? We don't tell you what to think. We don't tell you what to believe. We simply explain the system, the history, and the possibilities so that you can think for yourself and prepare for your own future. Because in a changing world, knowledge is not just power. Knowledge is protection.
Hey, couple new ones there. I thought those were okay, I hope. We'll do 5 short ones, then I got another 15.
You should come out of it loving the United States of America, and it is a societal failure that it is the opposite in this current day and age. Yeah. Luigi Mangione was a product of the University of Pennsylvania, and he is revered by these Marxist activists. And you see how this is played out politically in giving us Zoran Mandami in New York City, where nearly 25 years ago, Islamic terrorists rammed planes into the World Trade Center. And you want to know why that is? Because my generation, who was born largely after September 11th, has not received an education in the reality of September 11th. And the hard truth is, on that day, the United States of America was attacked by Islam. And that is inconvenient for these Marxists who want to corrupt the minds of our young people and get them living under Sharia law like Zoran Mandami wants. And I don't think it's any surprise that you're seeing this coincide with a rise in anti-Semitism. Because as we've seen through history, as economic times are tough, generations look towards a scapegoat. They look to blame the Jews. And that's exactly what we're seeing go on right now. And so I think in order to restore a sense of patriotism, to restore a sense of normalcy in our education, kids need an economic education, and our country needs a path forward to get on track with the American dream so young people can start buying homes again, so they can start a family. And this war starts at home, let me tell you, because we know that kids, the second they step foot in our education institutions, as young as 4 and 5 years old, they are being met with this radical indoctrination. They're being told that they can change their gender, that they should hate themselves if they're white or if they're Jewish or if they just believe in God. And we need to fight this battle at the first front in the home. So, all of this.
Oh, A plus, I think.
ドナルド・ J ・トランプでございます。ツイッターのアメリカ版へようこそ、あるいはイーロンが呼ぶところの X へ。彼は素晴らしい男だ。まさに天才。ハンサムな男だよ。絵に描いたような人物だ。私を信じてくれ。とにかく、ここでは2種類のタイプのアメリカ人を目にすることになるでしょう。善良なアメリカ人はMAGA、あるいはトランプ支持者と呼ばれています。ほとんどのアメリカ人は最高な連中です。その一方で、時折完全に支離滅裂なたわごとを口走る頭のおかしい連中を見かけることもあるでしょう。私たちはこうしたバカどものことを民主党員、デモクラッツと呼んでいます。奴らが手をつけるものは何から何まで全てクソと化します。これは間違いありません。まあ、とにかく X、旧ツイッターのこちらの側面も楽しんでもらえれば幸いです。日本の愛国者たち、そして選手たちよ、私は君たち全員を愛している。素晴らしい一日よ。
Okay, whatever that was. California lady, I got 3 of those, and then we got to the next 15-minute video.
Entire cabinet of California's corrupt governor for assisting Gavin Newsom in billion-dollar fraud. Former Newsom aides have also handed over documents that could further complicate matters for the entire top echelon of Democrats in California. Documents revealed bank transfers used to buy support within the state assembly, which, despite being dominated by Democratic crooks, doesn't want to follow along with Newsom and is now offering a deal with VP Vance's task force to deliver Newsom on a silver platter. They discovered that Newsom ordered his aides to create bank accounts in various states to move illicit money, even using his own family members as fronts to launder public funds from falsified contracts with companies that don't even exist. This allowed Newsom to steal billions of dollars and move the money across multiple states, mainly those dominated by Democrats, such as New York, where a transfer of billions caught the attention of the Treasury Department, which suspected signs of corruption and ended up freezing several accounts linked to Newsom. After all, we had the governor campaigning for a railroad that cost over $35 billion and absolutely nothing was built, but the billions disappeared from the coffers. All of this was revealed by Newsom's advisor, considered until then his right-hand man, who was trembling for his life due to threats from the Democratic governor, who had even considered having him killed for knowing too much and for potentially implicating other, even more powerful people, so-called silent partners, if Newsom falls. But with the possibility of the governor ending up in prison very soon, his staff doesn't want to suffer the same fate. So all that's left for them is to make a deal. I'm Fernanda Perez Riley, and this is what happens.
Okay, 2 more.
Get away with it, but it turns out, my dear, that she helped Gavin Newsom with the billion-dollar fraud in California. JD Vance doesn't want to let this criminal go free because for the vice president, Nancy actively participated in the fraud scheme, helping pass billions of dollars in Congress that were expressly requested by Newsom. The corruption of Democrats in California has reached alarming levels, leading the task force to investigate even the emergency funds that were to be reserved for fighting fires. Newsom had his hands in them. Pelosi has already been cited in the scandal involving billion-dollar contracts awarded by Newsom to his donors, contracts that are part of a massive fraud scheme involving billions embezzled by the governor. After all, we have $200 million reasons to believe Pelosi should spend a good amount of time behind bars. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, throughout the entire scheme that started in 2021, she managed to approve more than $48 billion in federal funds for California all at once. And then we found out she had a secret fortune valued at $200 million in an account linked to a foundation controlled by her family. And if you want to see Pelosi and Gavin Newsom in jail, don't forget to follow me, because California needs to get rid of these parasites who dragged our state into the quagmire of corruption. And
okay, last one.
crook in California history. There is no escape for Newsom other than a one-way ticket to prison. Scott, who celebrated Newsom's imminent arrest, described it with surgical precision, saying that Newsom faces serious charges of corruption, money laundering, bribery, and organized crime. He stated that if he were the prosecutor in the case, he would seek the maximum sentence for the corrupt governor. Because Newsom abused his power and influence to gain access to billions in federal funds that were subsequently embezzled, he could be tried by a jury in Washington. My dear, the investigation by VP Vance's task force has already reached the point of requesting the arrest of all of Newsom's cabinet aides after revealing hidden bank transfers, false invoices, and direct connections between high-ranking officials in other states who helped Newsom hide illicit assets. The scandal is spreading like wildfire, already involving several members of Congress and threatening to send half of the Democratic elite to jail. I honestly don't know how Newsom, with his dream of reaching the White House, I don't know how he's going to get away with this, because it's so absurd that I wouldn't be surprised at all if the corrupt governor received the maximum sentence. What is about to happen in California could put the entire Democratic leadership behind bars. Gavin Newsom, who once considered himself untouchable, is now walking on thin ice. And Washington is preparing for what could be the biggest anti-corruption battle America has ever seen. I'm Fernanda Perez Riley, and stay with me, and don't forget to follow me.
Okay, our California lady. So next one's 15. Finding I'm not sure about this one.
A handful of different examples I've provided over the years. Some folks just want to live their lives under the ignorance is bliss banner, and I can't really blame them after working 8+ hours a day, 5 days a week. Who doesn't just want to go home and relax and mindlessly watch Netflix? But one of the biggest wake-up calls is when individuals begin to question their programming, specifically their television programming. Asking questions like, what are they trying to normalize here? How is public discourse being guided by the news media? And who the heck are these talking heads peddling every agenda imaginable from the little black box in my living room? In the first part of this video, we'll cover how governments used entertainment to control the masses and how corporations took note, using the same methods to sell a product. Then we'll cover childhood entertainment, starting with Disney and the forces behind our favorite family movies. Next, we'll tackle cultural creation and cultural moderation, showcasing some interesting government ties between news media and Hollywood. So let's begin, shall we? The father of psychoanalysis was born in the Austrian Empire in 1856 to Eastern European Jewish parents. It was in Vienna that Sigmund Freud researched and experimented on the human mind, concluding that man was the most ferocious animal in existence. And tucked inside the minds of all of these animals were primitive sexual and aggressive forces. Forces that had the power to unleash widespread chaos, and even the potential to topple governments. While Freud warned that governments had set loose these dangerous forces with World War I, Freud's American nephew, Edward Bernays, had been employed to keep the war drums beating. President Woodrow Wilson needed Americans to get on board with the war machine, and he turned to propagandists to do just that, to convince Americans to join the fight under the guise of spreading democracy across all of Europe, so that a hopeful future might unfold, one where individuals across the world could experience good old American freedom. But Bernays wasn't too keen on the propagandist title. He claimed, ironically, that the Germans had tainted the term, and thus he reinvented it, emerging as the father of public relations. You see, Bernays had witnessed firsthand how powerful propaganda was at promoting war. So for his next act, Bernays decided to use propaganda, public relations, to promote peace. How, you might ask, did Bernays execute such a noble deed? Well, his uncle, who, by the way, hated humans, especially Americans, had some interesting ideas on human nature, and Bernays decided it was time to weaponize those ideas. For peace, of course. For peace. American corporations emerged even more powerful after the First World War, and in order to maintain their cash flow, and in other words, their influence, business owners realized they needed to keep their workers in the factories to increase their production. And of course, there is no supply without demand. That's why Bernays' big business clients hired him to figure out exactly what motivated the human mind, so corporations could better appeal to the masses. The year was 1928 when the president of the American Tobacco Company looked to Bernays to increase sales, providing Bernays with an opportunity to conduct an experiment of sorts. This was a time when women smoking in public was stigmatized, but both Bernays and his client knew an untapped market when they saw one. Bernays employed psychoanalysis, learning that cigarettes symbolized the penis, therefore male sexual power, and he figured out that if he could connect smoking cigarettes to the idea of challenging male sexual power, he could sell a pack of smokes to both genders. Everyone was a winner, but their lungs were not. So at the Easter Day parade, Bernays set up a huge publicity stunt. He'd already tipped off the press and supplied them with their new propaganda piece, public relations phrase, Torches of Freedom, which the press would then capture when a group of paid-off debutantes posing as suffragettes lit up their cigarettes in the middle of the parade, making the single act of igniting a torch of freedom a gesture of female empowerment, wrapped up in one stinky PR package meant to render emotion from all who might look upon it, skyrocketing tobacco sales and forever linking human desire and feelings with products. Because it's not like the actual act of becoming a human chimney made women any freer, but it sure made him feel like it. And with this realization, Bernays felt confident that his tactics could emotionally manipulate the masses to purchase product on the basis of want, not need. And all these dangerous, primitive forces his uncle was droning on about were made even more docile through Bernays' manipulation of habits and opinions. Bernays had successfully remixed the Romans' bread and circuses. The average Joe was so occupied, in fact, that most didn't even realize a new mentality, shaped by corporate appeal, was binding and guiding America, creating a clear path for a new elite to control the masses through psychological techniques, forming a grand illusion of this thing we now call democracy. The lines between corporations and governments aren't just blurred anymore. They barely exist at all. And just when people start to take notice that something isn't quite right, another distraction gets rolled out. Probably some breaking news headline on a polarizing issue into which well-meaning people throw their energy. Social media then becomes weaponized, dividing people into virtual armies that endlessly attack each other. White versus black, men versus women, Muslims versus Christians, gay versus straight, Antifa versus the alt-right. It's also draining, so why don't you just sit back, relax, and watch a little Netflix? A company founded by none other than the grandnephew of Edward Bernays. The first leg of Walt's career seemed to be marked by creative desire, glimpses of success, his brother Roy's business choices, personal tragedy, and a propensity towards bankruptcy. But all that changed with the Second World War. Revealed in documents reopened through the Freedom of Information Act, prior to the official beginning of World War II, Walt was recruited by the FBI to spy on Hollywood as a paid asset. Walt even had underlings who reported to him on official spy business. Walt expanded from an individual asset to establishing the Walt Disney Company as a government contractor. And the United States military parked themselves at Disney Studios only one day after Pearl Harbor. His studios cranked out instructional military films, war bond advertisements, and endless propaganda for the war machine. Mickey played a huge role in World War II, with his likeness painted across aircrafts to lift the spirits of the men fighting. Mickey helped children feel safer during the war, with a line of issued gas masks resembling the face of the mouse, making them seem less threatening. One of the most influential people working in journalism today is Anderson Cooper, a member of one of the most powerful families in America, the Vanderbilts. Anderson Cooper's great-grandfather was a robber baron and industrial titan, making his early fortune from ferries, steamship lines, railroads, and stock manipulations. While Anderson Cooper was in college at Yale University, famous for their Skull and Bones Society, he spent 2 summers working for the CIA at their headquarters in Langley, Virginia, something that he had not spoken about publicly until the word got out in 2006, when he addressed the accusations as true but insisted on downplaying his time there, saying that while it was a nice summer job, he didn't make a career out of working for the CIA. While Anderson Cooper is hardly the only mainstream journalist with CIA ties, that's not really important here. What is important is what those ties mean and have historically meant for prominent journalists. Back in the 1950s, at the beginning of the Cold War, the CIA kicked off an operation known as Project Mockingbird, which they utilized to surveil and recruit journalists amongst corporate media outlets to advance their geopolitical agenda and ultimately boost their fight against communism. Back in 1977, Carl Bernstein, a former Washington Post reporter, published a Rolling Stone cover story titled, "The CIA and the Media, How America's Most Powerful News Media Worked Hand in Glove with the Central Intelligence Agency and Why the Church Committee Covered It Up." Bernstein's investigation involved obtaining CIA files that recorded collaborative efforts with 400 American journalists over the last 25 years, who had secretly carried out assignments for the Central Intelligence Agency. So what could these journalists have been used for? To promote war, geopolitical agendas, and social engineering? How much of what these journalists have reported has been actual news, and how much of it has been a CIA script? One relayed for a very specific purpose. And when will we find out that Project Mockingbird never really ended? Perhaps we've learned all that we need to from Weinstein, the fall guy. Perhaps the answers we seek remain hidden by those who have been covering up for him for decades. Let's take a look at Harvey Weinstein's most outspoken accuser, Rose McGowan, who recently got banned from Twitter for taking aim at one of Hollywood's darlings, Ben Affleck, accusing him of knowing about Weinstein's behavior for years, and also alleging that he lied about doing something about Weinstein's behavior. Additionally, McGowan called Affleck's longtime buddy, Matt Damon, a spineless profiteer who stays silent. But are Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Harvey Weinstein really all just spineless Hollywood perverts? Both Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were no-name actors prior to Good Will Hunting. But here's a picture of them with former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, the day Good Will Hunting was released to the general public, distributed by none other than Weinstein's Miramax Films. Also of note, Damon's character in Good Will Hunting is being recruited by the NSA. Could it be that Affleck and Damon are a little more connected than their humble, struggling actor beginnings let on? The answer is yes. Absolutely, a million times, yes. Finding Your Roots, a program that aired on PBS, looked into Ben Affleck's roots and revealed that his story of being a middle-class guy from Boston, raised by a single mother, was a bit of a misleading tale. Barely mentioned on the show was Affleck's grandmother, Elizabeth Roberts Shaw, who married a guy she met at college by the name of O'Brien Bolt, whose best man was Tom Braden, a man who worked for the OSS, which was like a really early version of the CIA. Braden then held a prominent role in the CIA, specializing in using art and film as a means to spread propaganda. Braden even snagged Ben Affleck's grandma a job at the CIA front known as the Museum of Modern Art, working alongside her. Ben Affleck's mama, Chris Ann Bolt, wasn't just any single mama. She attended Harvard and worked alongside the offspring of other CIA spooks, which brings us full circle to Ben Affleck. After No Name Ben Affleck watched the premiere of his not yet popular film Good Will Hunting with then President Bill Clinton at Camp David, he played a CIA analyst in the film The Sum of All Fears. Reported in The Guardian, there was a real CIA agent on the set, advising the actors as they shot the movie. That same CIA liaison went on to advise the set of Alias, the star of which is Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's former wife. Basically, all the women in Ben Affleck's family are connected to the Central Intelligence Agency. And we haven't even gotten to spineless profiteer Matt Damon, who has played CIA or NSA-related characters in Good Will Hunting, 4 Jason Bourne films, The Good Shepherd, and Syriana. Though Matt Damon has a similar origin story to Ben Affleck, he presents himself as a middle-class guy from Cambridge who happened to attend Harvard, where he became a member of the elite Delphic Club. Even though he was supposedly just a middle-class theater kid who missed a bunch of class time due to pursuing film roles, even going on record as saying that he was yanked out of class to pursue these roles, as though he had no say in the matter. There's an excellent essay I have listed down below that details and sources all of this information about how Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were anything but struggling actors from middle-class families. They were both born from elite families with a spiderweb of connections to the CIA. Do you reckon these connections were severed when they made it big in Hollywood? Together, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Harvey Weinstein make quite the trifecta. Hollywood serves as the conduit through which the United States government promotes its propaganda. Harvey and his brother Bob founded Miramax Films, which Disney bought in 1993. During World War II, Walt Disney Studios created 75 training films for the military. And it's documented that the U.S. Army took over Disney's studio space during this time, and they never really left. Consider the programming that Disney, as well as all of Hollywood, cranks out. Consider the propaganda that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have been a part of. So what do you think, internet friends? Is there something more to our TV programming than just a simple means of escapism after a hard day at work? Let me know. You know I always look forward to your comments.
Okay, I thought that was, I hope everybody liked that one. I got another 6-minute clip from the press secretary. Then we'll do another 15.
More.
Ciao.
Ciao. 2 million cars for 2 million possibilities. Cars.com. Where to next?
Good afternoon, everyone. Could you hear our amen in there? We just said a little loud prayer as a team. In this Holy Week, President Trump and the First Lady are joining in prayer with Christians celebrating the resurrection of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. On Wednesday, the president will host an Easter lunch in the East Room with faith leaders across the country to celebrate Holy Week. With respect to the ongoing major combat operations in Iran, Operation Epic Fury is moving ahead successfully and according to plan. With each passing day, the United States military is increasing its advantage over the terrorist Iranian regime. More than 11,000 enemy targets have been struck to date, each strike further crippling the regime's offensive and defensive capabilities and creating more leverage for the United States and our allies. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also decimating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 150 of their naval vessels so far, including 92% of their largest vessels. The Iranian Navy has no vessels operating in major regional waterways and no ability to project naval power, which is why they've been assessed as combat ineffective. Our military continues to obliterate Iran's defense industrial base, with nearly 70% of their missile, drone, and naval production facilities and shipyards damaged or destroyed thus far, significantly reducing their ability to pose future threats in the region. U.S. and Israeli joint forces control the skies and have asserted air dominance over Iran, completing more than 11,000 successful combat flights thus far. The trend remains clear. The United States is conducting more intense, targeted strikes with devastating combat power with each passing day to destroy the threat posed by the Iranian terrorist regime, as President Trump sought out to do a month ago. It's no surprise that we are seeing the remaining elements of the regime become increasingly eager to end the destruction and come to the negotiating table while they still can. Despite all of the public posturing you hear from the regime and false reporting, talks are continuing and going well. What is said publicly is, of course, much different than what's being communicated to us privately. As a result, President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price. One way or another, Iran will no longer have the credible ability to threaten the United States or our allies, which is, of course, the overall objective and mission the president set out when he launched Operation Epic Fury. Unfortunately, even as President Trump is working hard every single day to protect the United States from foreign enemies, Democrats on Capitol Hill have failed to do the same here at home by keeping the Department of Homeland Security unfunded. Over the past 6 weeks, Democrats in Congress have pushed our air travel system to its breaking point and inflicted massive pain on Americans with their reckless political games. 500 TSA officers quit their jobs. Thousands more were calling out sick at record rates due to the lack of pay. This resulted in security wait times exceeding 3 hours at major airports across the country, creating nightmares for millions of Americans. Overall morale among TSA staff plummeted as well. All of this creating an unacceptable heightened security risk. Because of the Democrats' unwillingness to do their basic job of funding DHS, President Trump determined that these circumstances constituted an emergency, compromising American security. That's why last week he accordingly signed a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Homeland Security to work with the Director of the Office of Management and Budget here at the White House to use those funds with a reasonable and logical nexus to TSA operations to provide TSA employees with the compensation and benefits that would have accrued to them but for the Democrat-led DHS shutdown. This bold and necessary action by President Trump will ensure our TSA workers receive their hard-earned paychecks. It should not have come to this point, but President Trump will always do what's right by the American people, and he found a way to do that to get TSA paid. Ensuring that these federal workers who perform critical public safety responsibilities can feed their families, pay their rent, and show up to work is something the president was honored to do. But this moment should be an eye-opening one for the American people. Let's be clear about what is happening. Democrat members of Congress are more than happy to put your safety at risk because they oppose the president's administration and his administration's efforts to enforce our nation's immigration law. Democrats refuse to fund ICE because they want millions and millions of illegal aliens to pour into the country just like they were under the Biden administration. They want murderers and rapists and thugs to remain in your communities rather than be removed by ICE and Border Patrol agents. The Democrats created this mess. They are the reason for long lines at airports and tens of thousands of employees going without pay. Once again, President Trump is cleaning up their mess because he cares more about the American people than destructive, petty, partisan politics. With that, I will take your questions today here in our news.
Okay, we got 2 clips on that from today, but won't be able to do the whole other clips. More stuff. So the next one is the YouTube lady. This is a few minutes. Walmart.
Complete disaster. 2 friends decide to go shopping together, but somewhere between the checkout line and the doors, something goes real wrong. One of them allegedly tries to push an entire cart full of unpaid merchandise out the doors and then disappears. Just gone, and that's where it gets messy. The woman that's left behind insists that she only had a few items. She claims that the other woman was supposed to pay. She says that her food stamp card is in this other person's wallet, and now the police are trying to figure out exactly who is responsible for the stuff. Oh yeah, she also left her kid behind.
We are in the middle of getting a training receipt right now. All right, so then come back in. So she was with another party. That party had purchased her items at a man checkout and walked out.
Okay, come back.
She
Can you
attempted
put
to
your phone
push
down
out.
for now?
Are you calling for someone to pick up your order?
No, I'm calling because of the person I was with.
We saw her attempt to push out grocery side twice and was stopped both times by the doorman. She came to this side, jumped up to customer service to call for a party. They never came. She walked back into the store.
I figured they paid for everything.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you after.
Where's her mom at? No idea. I was here. I actually came to register.
Call her mom.
I'm sorry. Dad, I'll call you back. She's not answering. I'm going straight to voicemail. My thing was we were going shopping for them.
If you could potentially get arrested, you want this little girl to go with diapers right now? Find her mom, bring that, figure it out. Where is her mom at?
My love, I don't know. I was here. She was supposed to pay.
What kind of car is she in?
No car. Taxi.
You'll walk here. Taxis?
No, taxi.
From where? From where? What is her mom's name?
Her shelter. This is crazy.
What is her mom's name?
Randy Salista. I've been overcome. Yo, at this point, I'm about to call Dyfus myself.
Yes.
Yeah, like at this point, I'm about to call Dyfus myself because the fact that I'm coming here. All right, Sadie's in front of me. I don't want to have this conversation.
The police officer sitting in front of me. I don't want to have this conversation. You about ready to go to a place where all calls are recorded, so you might as well just say whatever you need to say. I mean, let's just be real. I cannot believe that this friend fled and left her daughter behind. Left her daughter. Mother of the year right here. Thieving asshole who abandons her kid. I would call Child Protective Services too. I mean, obviously they're going to have to if they can't find her.
It really doesn't have anything to do with this. I'm calling Dyfus. I don't care what they have to do. I'm calling Dyfus. And
Stop.
I'm getting the kids removed. I don't care about me. I care about the kids. And what she just put her kid through being with me.
What are you doing? What are you going to you?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I told them I'll pay for what I gotta pay for, but half the shit is Randy, so she's gonna have to take accountability for what.
So what do we think? Let me know down in the comments. Does this friend know that Brandy was going to try to run out of the store with a whole cart full of stuff? Does this friend know? Because right now, this friend, the one that is sitting here with Brandy's child, she is making it out to be like, I had no idea that she was going to attempt to do this. I had no idea that she was going to try to push out an entire cart full of merchandise. She was going to take off, leave me here with her kid. This is a pretty shitty friend. Like, that's kind of the story.
I wonder if this was a setup, you guys. What do you think?
That she's sticking to. Do we believe it? I don't know. I mean, I would tend to suspect that she knew that her friend was going to attempt that. If I'm going out shopping with my friends, I have a feeling that I would know if they intended to just like push a cart out, especially because they mentioned that she attempted to leave twice and got stopped. She tried twice at the grocery side and kept getting stopped. So this friend obviously would have seen her attempt to do this, but maybe she couldn't stop her. I don't know. Let's see how thick the plot gets.
She was supposed to pay for.
No, because you have the card. You're responsible.
So I'm responsible because I have a card for somebody who was putting in my cart?
Yes.
Bro, because fucking Randy don't put me in a shitty ass position and I'm probably gonna get locked up because she's a lying ass bitch. I'm at Walmart. I have my food stamp card. It's in her wallet. That's customer service. I was supposed to pay half of food, and then she was supposed to pay half of the clothes for her and Sadie and Jason and Will. I don't went to the customer service like 2 or 3 times on top of the checkout line asking for her name. She didn't show, so I figured, okay, she's paying. I called her, she didn't answer, so I figured she was outside. So I didn't even go outside yet. I'm like,
okay, so it's sounding like she wasn't with her friend when her friend attempted to flee. It sounds like she was at the customer service desk or something. But why would her friend have her food stamp card in her wallet? Unless it was something like, now I'm speculating here. Is this the kind of situation where this friend was buying food stamps? It could be. Like, why you are this girl, has she said her name? I just know that Brandy is the friend. She's got a purse in her hand, so she can't hold her own food stamp card. I mean, unless, there's another reason why your friend would have a food stamp card. I would suspect that it's something like she bought food stamps. And the way she's talking about this Brandy chick doesn't sound like she's a very good friend. So I am leaning more towards she's not really that good of friends with this Brandy chick, and maybe Brandy was buying her food stamps. Purely speculation. I'm just speculating based on the behavior I'm seeing and the fact that this Brandy chick had her food stamp card. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Am I speculating a little bit too much here? But that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. You know what I mean?
Halfway out the store, and then they can check me. I'm calling her. She's not answering me. No nothing. I have Sadie with me. Like, for all this, I would have never came here with her. Apparently she's shoplifting.
Okay, can we just reload it and reload it?
Yeah, and have me thinking that I'm paying for half of it, and she has my card. I don't know. Nobody can find her. I'm in the office at Walmart. They're trying to locate her. They cannot find her. I have Sadie with me. I told them, I said, I'll pay for whatever's in the card. Like, if she left, I'll pay. They're not letting me leave. I'll pay for my shit. For my shit, I'll pay for it. But all the clothes that was in my cart for Sadie, her, and all the boys, I'm not paying for it. I was supposed to pay for a couple of the fucking food items. I had like 4 things in a cart. That's it. I had like $20 worth in the cart. And then on top of that, she's leaving her daughter here. That's not the point. No, bro. They need to like fucking locate her because I'm not doing this shit with her. This is not the first time they do this. She doesn't. Yep. If I'm not locked up. Thank you.
Are they?
Well, they were gonna come and get me and her.
Who's coming?
I don't understand why
My son's father, her uncle. But you have no.
My son's father, her uncle. Let's break down a family tree. So this little girl and her son are cousins then? My baby's father is her uncle. So this Brandy chick and this girl right here are dating or married to brothers? Or they just have children with brothers? Am I understanding this family tree? So she must know Brandy pretty well then. If their kids are cousins. Am I putting that together right? This is like a math problem I was not anticipating needing to solve.
No location of Brandy because I was supposed to pay for 4 items. Everything else in that cart was her. And I called her. I made sure I went to the things. When they didn't give me no answers, I figured I was okay.
Did you see it? No, I gotta see this stuff.
Like, I figured I was okay when she didn't show. And I didn't even walk out. And like I'm saying, I'll pay for whatever the heck. Her shit. Excuse my language. But I'll pay for my stuff. I'm not paying for hers. She was going back to the shelter.
What
I only gave her a ride to give her help.
So your car is here?
No, I took a taxi. I actually, with the storm going on, my car skidded off the road.
Despite blaming everything on her friend, the child's mother who fled the store, officers still have enough cause to arrest her after she passed the checkout with unpaid items.
What did we arrest her to? What did we arrest her to? Did she actually take anything? Apparently saying that she was concealing stuff in the items. She was what? Concealing? She was placing stuff in the cart, right? The other kid.
I don't know if we'll have footage of that or not. This lady here tried to go out the other door first. Then she tried to go out that garden door. So she knew. But we don't know. We have the other girl on camera doing stuff. I'm sure. I know because she paid. So I think she left the clothes. Dakota can tell you better.
But did she conceal it at all?
No. She had a big pile of stuff. And then she paid for some stuff and left the clothes. That's what I was told. I was following this girl.
But we never had her, the other girl, stealing, trying to take anything out.
No, not to her knowledge.
It would just be her for now.
Yeah.
Did you know that PetSmart has auto ship? Well, now you do. Smart deals, low prices. PetSmart, anything for pets. Once weekly Mounjaro.
What's her own?
Yeah, so they're saying, oh yeah, she knew. She watched her try to go out multiple times. So she knew that her friend was trying to steal, but they don't really have her trying to steal anything. So I don't know how this is going to go.
Like, right side.
Uncle.
Come
on, Sadie. Orion's right here. I want to make sure this is Orion.
Well, what do you guys think? You think she'll get off?
Can I see it?
Yeah. Orion, come up here. Stay right there.
Right there. Stay right there. Get back
Why are
there.
you touching?
Get back there.
This is Orion, right? Yeah. He's good. Stay calm, relax.
Yo, I'm about to spaz because I'm about to beat the fuck out her mom. No. So, yeah. Close the door, please.
Relax.
And do what they tell you. Bro, this is ridiculous. I don't do this shit. I don't do any of this shit.
He said, I told you to stop hanging out with her. I told you she's bad news. Yeah, obviously something like this was bound to happen eventually, especially if she's been warned about her friend before.
She's supposed to be here. What color hoodie does she have on? I don't know. She had a burgundy and black one on. And then a green one. Ridiculous. Can I press charges? Like, I would like to press charges.
Can you calm down?
No, because I was not aware of this. Y'all seen that I have called her multiple times. I don't get in trouble. Like, I would like to press charges at this point. I would really like to press charges. I don't ever get in trouble. Like, I would really like to press charges because I really thought, like, I called her.
What? How was she going to press charges on her friend? Like, no, seriously, I'm asking. How would you press charges on your friend for leaving you behind to take the rap for shoplifting? What charges would be pressed? In the comments, let me know if you know. Like, she wants to press charges for what?
Her name multiple times, and I made sure of it.
What's Randy's last name?
Salister, I believe.
Salister, or is it not
Can I
Snyder?
press charges on her?
For what?
Because I don't get in trouble. I realistically, like, I called her name for a reason multiple times. I don't.
What do you want to press charges on?
The whole incident. Like, I'll pay for the 4 items that I came out of.
We don't negotiate at all.
No, I understand, but I'm sitting here saying I would like to press charges.
You can press charges on anyone for anything at municipal courthouse. You feel like you want to press a charge, go to the courthouse.
So I'm gonna have to get detained and.
Well, you are detained right now. We're just confirming everything.
Because as you can see, I done went to customer service in Lanes multiple times. I called her.
You got everything?
Yeah. I can pay. Like I said, I have the money. It was just a misunderstanding on my. I don't ever get in trouble. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Like, I really thought she was responsible for what she did.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I have a little girl with me. I would not do that.
Can you stand up for me, please?
Of course. Why are you guys grabbing me?
You're being told and you're not listening.
So I'm guessing she's not getting locked up. I just am. She didn't steal anything? Are you serious?
Just gonna search you real quick.
Other pocket. Can you put that in my purse?
I'm gonna search with my backhand, your waistline.
Do not touch my.
I have to.
It's just gonna be with the back of his hand. He's not gonna
back of my hand.
Just go ahead and make sure there's no weapons in the area. Don't go like towards the crotch or the butt or something.
You guys have watched them. You've seen me sit here and call out her name multiple times.
What is that?
I didn't even walk out the store, and I'm getting charged for what? Theft?
One day I'll take care of that. Yeah, small handcuffs because it clicks through.
They're good. You just like small handcuffs. You got my hands tight as hell. Like, I'm dumbass bitch stealing from here, and I'm telling you, I don't want to multiple people asking for her name, and I'm the one getting charged. Like, this is ridiculous. Please stop touching me, unless you're a female.
I suggest you don't put away stuff, but that could be another charge. This is for us. We're not doing
nothing. I have nothing to do with this. I'm telling y'all, I will pay for this shit. And you're arresting me. And you're arresting me because you can't find somebody else who's actually doing this shit.
We're arresting you for shoplifting.
Shoplifting, yeah.
You made the attempt.
I made the attempt. Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're guilty.
I made the attempt.
Doesn't mean you're
I
guilty.
made the attempt to sit here and say somebody's name multiple times, but Walmart could not fucking
Find her shoplifting, and they only found you.
y'all got the fucking upper hand.
Is this your jacket or?
No, it's not my jacket. You know what? Until I get a lawyer or an attorney, I don't want to answer none of y'all questions.
Is that
It's not mine, so I don't know.
Okay.
Do I wear a 2T? No. And while you're at it, can you please give my purse to my baby dad along with my vape and my phone?
Well, we're gonna search it first, make sure there's no.
Okay, yeah.
If he is here, yeah, we can do that. But if he's not here, we're not waiting. We waited long enough.
Well, maybe if you want an extra $1 for.
Not necessarily.
I don't know why you're upset with us.
With you?
Yeah, you're upset with us, like we.
Because y'all not doing your job.
We are.
You're not.
under arrest.
You're not.
You shoplifted. You exit out the door. So
Actually,
I don't know why you're arguing with us.
Actually, if you want to be real, I did not. So pull the camera up. Where the
Take
exit?
any money that's in there, put it in her pockets.
Nah. The lotion's mine, so I like that in my purse.
This is your just put.
No.
Whatever. She's not in charge here. Put all
I
her
don't
stuff
care who's in charge. You guys are putting shit in my purse that ain't mine.
Yeah, like it's illegal. It's stuff that we're.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
Apparently not.
You don't. Apparently, you don't.
You get paid on the fucking.
And you're mad at us for doing our job. We're just
no. I'm mad at you for not doing your job. How you got a bitch sitting here saying she's gonna pay you for?
We make trading simple. Trade what you want, how you want, with Tasty Trade.
Going shopping.
Yeah.
At Aldi, we don't have massive stores that waste your time. So you can shop.
Don't pull away.
Don't pull away. Don't pull away. Don't pull away. Don't pull away. Don't pull away. Don't pull away.
She needs to be careful. She's going to get resisting. She's going to get resisting. She probably already did. I think she's done enough to already get resisting. I don't know. How do we feel about her? How do we feel about her? Did she shoplift? They didn't find anything on her. They said that she attempted, but she didn't actually leave the store. And she seems, I know people talk a lot in these body cams. I know, but I kind of believe her when she says that she didn't. She's like, pull up the cameras. I didn't leave. I didn't exit the store. But depending on where this is, and they might have said at the very beginning, and I just forgot, concealing is the same thing as shoplifting. It depends on the state. So like I'm in the state of Kansas and I have had a brick and mortar store. So I knew the law pretty well regarding shoplifting. Simply concealing merchandise inside the establishment was not shoplifting until they exited the store. However, I had a friend that had a store in Nebraska, and in Nebraska, concealing inside the store was charged the same as shoplifting. So I know that different states have different rules regarding shoplifting. So she very well might be in a state where just simply concealing an item in an attempt to shoplift, even if she didn't leave the establishment, they can still get her for shoplifting. And so it really does, depend. But she is confident that she did not exit the store. And I kind of believe her. And, people lie all the time, obviously, but depending on the circumstance and the state, if she just simply concealed it, they can charge her with shoplifting for that.
You guys are hurting my fucking shit. You guys are hurting my fucking dress, yo. Get the fuck off me. Yo, real shit. Unhook my shit. They're too tight. Y'all about to fuck y'all. I'm about to fuck y'all.
And now she's threatening police officers. Honey, don't make this worse on yourself. It's already bad enough.
Yo, relax. Get the fuck off me. Get the fuck off me. Stay back. Yo, get off! That shit hurts! That shit hurts! Are you serious? Are you serious? That shit hurts! I'm telling y'all to get off me for a reason! I have a fracture, man! Wrist! Get off my wrist! Yo, y'all are hurting my wrist! Y'all are hurting my fucking wrist!
So there's been a few times where we have seen people that have an injury to their wrist or their hand, and being handcuffed is hurting them. Why do none of these people just simply get calm and just look at even just one officer, just look at him straight in their eye and say, officer, I'm going to comply, but these handcuffs hurt me. I have a fracture in my wrist and it hurts. Can we please adjust it? I'm not going to fight, but I do have a fracture and the handcuffs are hurting me. What is so hard about that? What is so hard about that? Yeah, you're repeating over and over again, ow, it hurts. Ow, this shit hurts. Ow, loosen up my handcuffs, they're too tight. Like, okay, you keep saying this over and over again. Obviously, they're not, taking you seriously because you're acting like an ass. So maybe you just stop and you just look at one of the officers in the eyes and say, sir, I'm not going to fight you, but can we please loosen my handcuffs? I have a fracture in my wrist and this really hurts me. How hard is that?
What the fuck is this? Get the fuck off me. Like, I'm telling y'all the truth and y'all don't hear me. Hi, beautiful. Hi, how are you? I'm good, and you? Oh, I can't complain. Do you have anything on you that's going to be tricky?
Does she know her? Hey, beautiful. How are you? How's it going? What you doing? Does she know her? Has she had numerous run-ins with this female officer? What the fuck?
All right, can you spread your legs? All right, have a seat. Okay, slow it all down. So this is going to be tight because you have thin wrists, so I'm just letting you know, do not try to slide out, you will be charged.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
All right.
Yep.
All
The suspect was charged with retail theft, obstructing justice, and resisting arrest.
So as suspected, she was charged with retail theft, obstructing justice, and resisting arrest, which we all saw coming. I want to know though, I feel like I need some closure. What happened to Brandy? And what happened with Brandy's daughter? Did CPS get called? I would think that they would. However, I think that Brandy would have to be caught in order for CPS to get involved because it's like a mandatory reporting thing. So because Brandy didn't get busted on scene like this girl did, does that mean CPS never got involved? Does that mean that this chick Brandy just got away with it? I have so many questions and I need closure, and I'm probably not going to get it because this is a really, really recent release. It just happened in February. So unfortunately, we're probably not going to get any.
So that was another wild Walmart issue. I got two more 15-minute ones, you guys. Let's see. We got one of each of we'll play Nick's video first. Florida.
87th Congressional District. Now, this district is very significant because that is where Mar-a-Lago, Trump's Palm Beach home, is located. And this was a previously Republican-held district that Trump won by 11 points. However, in this special election, we are told that a Democratic newcomer by the name of Emily Gregory upset the Trump-backed candidate, John Maples, by a razor-thin margin of 2% of the vote, which would mean that now Trump is going to be represented by a Democrat. So obviously this was a pretty big deal and made a lot of headlines as the CNN pundits and the Democrats and the pollsters wanted to take this story and use it to demoralize people like us and say, well, if Trump can't even hold control of his own district, what does that say about the upcoming midterms? It's the writing on the wall. This is a sign of what's to come, that the Republicans are going to get steamrolled and there's going to be a big, big blue wave. However, now more information has come out and the Republicans are demanding a recount in this election as it was discovered that an election volunteer by the name of John Panici was caught stealing election equipment, specifically encryption keys, which could be used to reverse engineer and manipulate the election outcome. Now, we've got some spicy details that have come out since this man was arrested, this basement dweller here, and we've got a little bit of a better picture into who this guy is and what he's all about. So I'm going to show all this to you guys, but I want to make sure you do not miss what's going down on Wednesday, April 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you missed the interview we did on Saturday, I had my friend Ross Givens come on the show, and he broke down how these Democrats and Republicans are currently, as we speak, using insider information to make hundreds of thousands of dollars buying up stocks in defense companies as we're at war with Iran. They have the insider information and they're using it to make money and generational wealth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you may not know this, but all of the information of what Congress is doing, all this insider trading, is publicly available information. And Ross Givens is going to come on Wednesday and break it all down for us, how we can follow what they're doing and legally make money by tracking the trades of the people in Congress and CEOs and all of these people that are using insider information to outperform the stock market by 10,000%. This is going to be a completely free live event. I'm going to be there. Ross is going to be teaching me right alongside you guys, and I'm going to be inviting my friends and my family. So click the link in the description or go to insidertradeswithnick.com to register. There's only a few limited spots left. A lot of you guys have already signed up. This is going to be big. This is going to be a lot of fun, and there's only a few slots available left. So make sure to register today before it's all filled up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about what exactly went down, what this guy did, because he's been arrested and he's under investigation right now. Now, the information's kind of limited, but we can put the pieces together here. So this guy, John Panici, was seen on camera stealing the encryption keys to the training database or the training poll book that the election workers were being trained on. So he took like basically a USB stick, which has the password to log into the training database. Authorities say John Panici is accused of stealing an encrypted access key from a voter registration terminal during a March 19th training session at the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections office. The session was held just days before the March 24th special election for Florida House District 87. Investigators say the key was configured for training databases only. However, officials raised concerns that someone with technical knowledge could potentially reverse engineer the encryption and use it in a live voter registration system for malicious purposes. Now, a lot of people are downplaying this, and they're saying, well, he took the password to the training database, not the live election day database, which they're saying it's not like he was able to access the election day voter database. So how could he have possibly manipulated the election if he didn't have access to the live data? But here's the thing. Even though he only took the training database encryption keys, there's a potential here that he could have reverse engineered the encryption key to actually hack into the election day voter rolls. And I'll explain that more in detail. And I don't want to get people lost on the technical side of things. I want to make sure this is very, very simple. So they arrested him at his home. They found the key. They found the election encryption key. And they found a bunch of electronic storage devices as well, which they recovered and are now investigating. Now, John Panici faces charges of grand theft and property crimes, which carry significant prison time up to 30 years. So he could be going to jail for a long time. And what's going to really be important here is to find out, what exactly was he up to? What was he trying to accomplish by stealing these encryption keys? Now, you have to ask yourself the very obvious question. If we're sitting here saying that he had no malicious intent and that he didn't intend to manipulate the election, well, why did he do it? Why would you steal the encryption keys if you didn't want to do something nefarious? I mean, you don't just do that unless you really are up to no good, right? So I would go out on a limb and say at the very least, he probably had the intent to do something nefarious. Whether or not he accomplished that successfully or not is yet to be determined. But I mean, you don't just take election equipment during an election training right before the actual election unless you're up to no good. I mean, that just goes without saying. And so the concern here is that if this guy was sophisticated enough, he could take those encryption keys, take it home, and then if the training database and the live database share a similar infrastructure and it's like a similar system with the same vulnerabilities and the same backdoors.
I'm not going to do cash today. I'm going to do 3 5-minute ones. One of them is Patriot Princess, is a 6-minute one. So those will be the last 3.
Then he would be able to take the encryption keys and reverse engineer it so that he could hack into the live database. And at that point, here's how this would play out. He would then have the ability to go into the live voter database and disable a bunch of voters or change their eligibility status, change their address, change their names, or just disable them altogether. Then those people go up to a polling site, and when it comes time to check them in, it turns out, hey, you're not a registered voter. Or, hey, your address is not in this district. Or the election worker would probably give them a provisional ballot where they would, fill out a provisional ballot, and then they'd look them up in the system later. They're not eligible, and that voter would have to go through a whole rigmarole to prove that they are who they say they are and they live where they say they live, and it's just not worth it for a lot of folks. So their ballot would just not be counted. And so all he would have to do is do this to several hundred people, and now you've manipulated and flipped the election outcome. Now, we brought this up in the beginning. The Republicans down in Florida, upon this news, are demanding a full recount after a Republican-held seat flipped to Democrats by just 800 votes. And so we'll have to see how that plays out, whether or not a recount is going to happen there. But we're also going to have this investigation that's ongoing. And what's going to be important is if there were actual voters that were disenfranchised and not eligible to vote, despite the fact that they know for a fact they were registered to vote in the 87th district, then there's going to be a bunch of affidavits coming forward of people telling their story about what happened to them on election day. And if you get quite a few hundred of those people, then you've got yourself a case, and there's going to be consequences for what John Panici did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've also got some information that's come out about who this guy is, and it can help us understand, the mentality of this person, and quite possibly give us a little bit of an insight into potential motives that they might have. So Laura Loomer's already discovered the fact that this guy's a registered Democrat. No surprise there. But that's not necessarily, that doesn't make somebody guilty. That doesn't make him a criminal. But it is worth noting. So he's a registered Democrat. But this is the real bombshell, and this has been raising some eyebrows on X. People have went on John Panici's social media accounts, and they found some very, very concerning post which he has made on Facebook. So this was John Panici on August 16th, 2024, who says, "I have been on the phone quite a bit over the past 2 days to determine why Trump was allowed to vote a few days ago. Unfortunately, I still have no answer. I am doing this as I am a clerk for the supervisor of elections. Many friends and family know this and have called, texted, messaged, etc. to ask me why Trump was allowed to vote." And he can't even spell allowed. So this makes me wonder if this guy is sophisticated enough to, reverse engineer encryption keys. But still, let's continue. "I spoke with the supervisor of elections office with a few people. Many people are concerned about my questioning this." Of course. I mean, why is this guy, an elections clerk, trying to prevent Trump from voting in an election? Of course, people are concerned about this. But he says, "I have to remain completely impartial to taking political sides while doing my job. One person I talked to at the supervisor of elections explicitly told me we should not be discussing this and sounded like she was going to end the phone call. I quickly told her, yes, we should. It is absolutely our job to check the eligibility of a person to vote. It is also our job to report when something potentially wrong is being or has been done." Very ironic, considering that you stole encryption keys. "This is why we swear to the oath to protect and defend the Constitution and the laws and rules of Palm Beach County." She paused and eventually agreed. She then told me to call the state's attorney's office and have a good day. I did call and actually spoke with the state's attorney directly and was informed that he had no direct answer to give me. I told him that in our training at the supervisor of elections, written right there in the manual I taught in class and on our devices, clearly states that a convicted felon is not eligible to vote. I also told him that I have researched this a bit, and felony convictions of this nature do indeed cross state lines. Therefore, the New York decision was valid in Florida. So you can clearly see this is a man with Trump derangement syndrome, went well and beyond out of his way to make a concerted effort to challenge the fact that Trump voted in the election, and challenged it on the basis that Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. Now, let's put this into perspective here. Somebody that's willing to go this far to try to make it so Trump's vote doesn't count, then going on in the next election cycle and stealing the encryption keys to the voter database, which would allow him to potentially reverse engineer and access the live voter database. It sounds like this guy was on a mission. It sounds like he had a vengeance. He didn't get the answer he wanted from the election supervisor. He didn't get the answer that he wanted from the attorney's office. And so what I'm wondering now, while everybody's saying this guy was attempting to steal the election, I'm wondering if maybe this guy was trying to be a hero, you know, in the eyes of the left, and get the encryption keys to hack into the voter rolls and remove Trump from the voter rolls so that he can't vote. I'm wondering if that's what this is all about. I mean, if we're looking for a motive here, I think that would probably be the most plausible explanation for what this guy was up to. But we'll have to see what comes of this investigation. And, you know, we're going to find out what exactly John Panici did with those encryption keys very soon. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, the thing that they say never happens, happened, and the conspiracy theorists are being proven right. And you know what would have avoided all of this altogether? Hand counting paper ballots, having one election day, get rid of all the electronic voting equipment that can easily be hacked into and is vulnerable and full of backdoors. Get rid of all that stuff and go paper and hand count ballots on election day. Then you wouldn't have these issues. But ladies and gentlemen, this was a very interesting story I wanted to share with you guys. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe.
Okay, next video for today. We got the 3 short 5 minutes, and unless Billy comes out, Billy normally comes out about now.
No way attacking anyone. I think we should question everything, right? I just find it kind of weird that there's different colors of popes.
As loud as I can get
and
it.
They somewhat match the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the book of Revelation. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are associated with the colors white, red, black, and pale. Pale, which is actually green. In the book of Revelation, the first horseman rides a white horse, symbolizing conquest or the spread of something destructive, and it mentions corona, the head, the crown. Think 3 city-state empire, religion, the Vatican, the corona, mind manipulation, controlling the masses, the conquest. Think 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the rider that rides the white horse, conquering the masses, the corona, influencing everyone. Think 3 city-state empire. 1 arm is the Vatican, is the religious arm, influencing the masses. The white pope is the tippy top, the reigning sovereign pontiff. In the book of Revelation, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the second rider rides a red horse, which represents war and bloodshed. Red, blood. In the Catholic Church, the red pope, the cardinal prefect, or propaganda fide. It's a very powerful department in the Vatican, controlling all the Catholic missions, like in Africa and Asia, etc. Well, if the Catholic Church is doing all these missions in these countries, like Africa, Asia, third world countries, why are there so many kids going missing? Why are they not advertising the great work that they do? Why have we not seen this everywhere, all over the TV, news, everything? All the amazing work that the Catholic Church has done with their missions.
And a couple short ones.
And why is there a Vatican bank, the black hole, with tons of money in it that no one accounts for? And what about all the gold under the Vatican? What about all this money that the Vatican has? But yet all these third world countries that they do their missions in still lay destitute, with children and people missing. What about that? And what about the orphanages that the Catholic Church, that Mother Teresa opened with the Clinton Foundation? What about those children? I want to see, what have they done? What amazing work has the Catholic Church and the Clinton Foundation done? Where are these children that they've helped? I would love to see it.
Thanks, Flying Eagle. Yep, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Why did Mother Teresa also work with Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father? And why does her nun outfit, the blue and white, match the Epstein Island temple, blue and white? Back to the book of Revelation, 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The third horseman rides a black horse, associated with famine and economic hardship. Black horse. Like the Vatican Bank, nicknamed the Black Hole, the Vatican Bank was investigated in 2012 for financial corruption and money laundering, and they're currently under investigation right now for writing fraudulent checks. And it says right here in the Britannica Encyclopedia that the Black Pope is the Superior General to the Society of Jesuits, and it is named the Black Pope because of the black habit of the order. What?
All right, just a minute.
It sounds to me like, are the Catholics like hiding that they're Jewish? It's a leader within the Catholic Church that is elected for life. It says here that the Black Pope's responsibilities are to manage the Jesuit order's global network of priests, specifically focus on education and social services. The Jesuit order. And why do all the priests and the Pope and the cardinals, why do they all wear yarmulkes? I mean, if they're Jewish, why don't they just say it? Why don't they just be it? Why do they have to hide it with different names? The Catholics say that their yarmulke is called a zucchetto. Historically, the zucchetto was to keep the clergy's head warm. It's also supposed to be a clear visual to be able to tell their rank. Each color means a different rank, again with the colors. And it's also for humility, to be in the presence of God. Same as what the Jewish people wear theirs for. So why don't they just call it a yarmulke? Why do they have to call it a different name? Seems like they're hiding something. Back to the book of Revelation. The fourth and final horseman rides a pale horse, or pallor, which is a greenish color, with death as the rider. Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis were known as the Green Pope. They installed solar panels on the Vatican and heavily promoted the climate change agenda, which is also known as part of the New World Order. Climate change was code for controlling the masses into thinking that the earth was overpopulated and mass depopulation was going to be needed to keep the earth healthy and safe. So there you go, the fourth and final rider, death on the green horse. Again, I'm not attacking anyone. I'm just questioning, what really is the Catholic religion? Are they hiding something? Why does the Black Pope control the Jesuit order?
I might have played
Why
this
do they
one,
wear
guys.
yarmulkes,
Sorry.
but call them zucchettos? Why do
can't
they
remember.
have all these peace missions and charity work, but we don't ever see any people that are saved or children that are saved? Why did Mother Teresa start an orphanage with the Clinton Foundation? Where are those children? I would love to see some positive results. It would be amazing.
Get out, Chico.
What about the Vatican Bank? Why are they being investigated for fraudulent checks and money laundering? I mean, why aren't they putting all that money towards these countries that still lay destitute? Why do the colors of the Pope
Why is
kind of
she
match
talking
the
so
four
low?
horsemen of the apocalypse in the book of Revelation? Why is the Vatican part of the 3 city-state empire?
Barely can hear her.
Why is the Vatican in its own district? Why doesn't it abide by the same laws as Italy? Why is it in its own territory, with its own military, its own laws, its own constitution, its own army? Why is that necessary?
All right, that was a low voice one on her that time. I got the 2-5 left, and then I got that one lady on TikTok. She didn't have a video, but she has some clips here. Show everybody. I was actually the first one to see it.
Hey everybody, this is Lieutenant Dan. He is an African goose. He is very protective. He's very protective and can be very mean.
Chico!
He can be very noisy. He will keep the hawks away from your chickens. He will also have your neighbors. He will also have your neighbors telling you.
Sounds like Chico.
Let's try to. Hi everybody. This is Lieutenant Dan, and he is an African goose. He is very loud, noisy, and violent. He also helps protect the ducks and the chickens from hawks. Nobody wants to mess with him. Sometimes he wants to identify as a human man. If you get my. We'll try it with Marcy.
Okay, I got one more. Then we'll get the 2-5s.
As you see, Lieutenant Dan and Marcy are making a bunch of noise. We're going to start doing some educational videos, and TikTok has a contest. $3,000 they're going to be given to 8 people who have an entertaining learning video. $3,000 is going to spay and neuter a bunch of cats. I need your help, guys. Can you go and look at my educational videos, repost them, share and like? I mean, come on, guys. Come on. Help a girl out. Good afternoon, everybody.
You got her hands full. Okay, we'll get these last 2 in. We got quite a bit out.
So when I was telling you guys that this was not AI, they kept violating me for saying it wasn't AI, because I had someone examine the time here. I have it, but I forgot it already. And the time here, and then you could just see the weight of the people sitting. I mean, it's like so obvious that these people are broke transgender actors. Once again, I'm talking to the watch list, but you can see, yeah, and the weight of like the, you know, their indention in the couch. And this is an Alibaba Nike outfit for sure. And then, hold on. It's not going to waste a lot of time on that, because while this is also a transgender female actress, do you notice the wedding ring right there? You know, it's like bro's giving a speech and everything. And then all of a sudden every fucking time I get busted in the carotid.
Ah. So these two was off of News Force tonight, you guys. So these are big ones here.
I also, I fidget. I get nervous and I'm like, I want a divorce, bitch. And I just throw that motherfucker to the pinky. You don't do that? Do you keep that tight of a grip? Your Pledge of Allegiance, man, blasted in the carotid and you still are holding the mic is impressive. I started picking up on, there were some inconsistencies in stories when I found out that Nazi means Zionist. And that's also a lie. It's Catholic. Moving right along, this was alarming because it's either, is it Tom Hanks and Mrs. Rockefeller, and they're both women? Because this is a female skull, so it doesn't matter. This is a woman, so who is it? Moving right along to, I have seen this wig situation before of JD Vance. It just, I don't know. It seems like, are they the same person? It's always the little bitty nipples for me because, that's a man thing. And I don't even know why men have nipples. They're very unnecessary. Do you ever use them in your life? No. So in the natural slope in the shoulders for me. And then also it's just, no matter how much you dress up a boy, it's just, it's always, you know what I'm saying? You can put a lot of girl clothes on a lot of men and they're just absolutely still going to be men. And that is a man I mean, do I have to compare skulls for you and show you that is a male? Most of all, I like to predict the future for the watch list, because they want to see my ability to do so. So this is a transgender serving as help, posing as help, or in the film industry. Hold on, huh? So in the film industry, everything's going to reverse back. So this is in the correct chromosome. So is that male back there. The transgenders were the help in the movies back then. As you can see, this is a woman. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but those are all males. So, I think the healthcare industry and the legal industry and all of it goes hand in hand. And so we're going to swap out and then we're going to go back to normal. Okay. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Obama is definitely a female. So one of my friends on Facebook did this for me. And I thought, you know what? That's actually a pretty female at that.
This lady,
right along,
good.
This must have been right before the reset of the last Titanic film industry. Because that's Putin. And that was a woman in this film industry. And I don't know the rest of these people, but this is a woman. Is that a man dressed up like a woman? Because some of these people are in the correct gender. So hold on. I'll have to really go over that later. The Titanic is just moving just fine back there in the water and it's not sinking. And then, who took the picture was the most interesting concept to me in the world. Nobody's crying. Okay. Here we're going to have the next version of the Titanic, but it's in color. And so, those are men, transgender actresses. Okay. So times have definitely advanced. But, the Titanic is once again back there. And there seems to be a lot of lifeboats going on. And, it's all for the film industry. You're watching a movie and you're falling for it is wild. Did they mess my mouth up? Keep watching. It's the watch list. Watch this. Watching me on the watch list. Watching you watch me on the watch list. Watch this, bitch. I don't know. This seems a little staged, but I wouldn't put it past anybody. Moving right along to the Louis Vuitton stamps in the neck is alarming for me. And the AI is just, I don't know. That's a female. Those are the smallest hands I've ever seen in my life. And then we're just going to keep going with the Louis Vuitton stamp in the neck. We're not going to stop there, though. That one is a little scarred from multiple surgeries of implants in and out, in and out. This is the skull of a female. I like to finish up strong with the brow implant up here. Okay, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The eyes are close together. That's a female, but the brow implant bone is just okay. Bam! Puddle of mud. Bam! 50 cent. Okay, drop it in the comments. Is this a good movie?
What do you guys think of her? Was that all right? Hey, last one, you guys.
Dinosaur in the background. Right. And why does this dog over here look like it could be AI generated? It's just like a black, shadowy figure. And if you know anything about the Masons' love of the number 33 and the black and white checkered pattern, you should stick around. Oh, and if you don't, you should really stick around. Why don't we continue to take a closer look at the footage? Like, why does her hand all of a sudden congeal? Look, you can see gaps, and then all of a sudden, they're just gone. It's like she doesn't have any finger gaps anymore. It's kind of strange, right? Well, you know what's common in AI errors? AI hand glitches are common, especially.
Hey, Samantha, we started at 3. I meant the new time was 3 to 7, but we got quite a lot of good stuff out today. This is the last one, about 4 minutes.
Especially finger merging. You're telling me they don't make a cop's camera good enough to not allow fingers to literally congeal together? Okay, but if this isn't any evidence for you, because it could just be bad camera quality, why don't we look at their 33s? And well, if you haven't seen any of my videos and you don't know about the number 33, they
A lot
put
of good
it in
stuff today.
everything that they're lying about. The Freemasons do. They put it in everything. It's to put their stamp on it. And they always tell us when they're deceiving us. And well, guess what? She was a mother of 3 who had children of ages 15, 12, and 6. 1 plus 5 is 6, which is 3, 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 6 is 3, 3. But if you think I'm reaching here, just keep watching. Why don't we see what good old JD Vance has to say? Oh, and that's a funny hand symbol. It kind of looks like a 3.
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming?
6 months ago, 3 plus 3, 33 stitches. Is it starting to click? Is it starting to make sense? Oh, remember I also pointed out the black and white checkered pattern. You know, the one that the Freemasons love, representing duality, and they put it on all their flooring. You see, I did a video earlier this week talking about how there's a war going on information and on the spirit. And the war on the information is in direct attack on the spirit because they want us all divided. And they use stuff like this nonsense to pin us against each other. And you're letting it. And I'm here to say, stop listening to the lie vision. It's lying to you. It's all scripted AI bullcrap. Look, I put her name in gematria and it comes out as 373. She's 37 years old with 3 kids. It's scripted. They're lying to you and you're allowing them to divide us when we should be turning our attention to them. And who are they? Well, go watch my videos from the past month and you'll know. But of course, all this is for entertainment purposes. I don't at all think they're mocking us with a dinosaur standing on a broken car with the checkered pattern and a shadow dog and her hands blurring and 33 stitches and 3 kids and all the kids numerically work out perfectly to 3. No, that's all coincidence, people. I don't really care about exposing all the lies and taking our power back. Entertainment only.
So those last 2 were off News Force. Okay, guys, I'm running out of breath. Oh, we got a lot of good stuff again out today. Just saving my energy, so we'll see what happens these next couple of days. Tomorrow's the 31st. So if anything breaks, I'll be on. So thanks, mods. Hey, Funny Gold, Carol, Lucy, Jim. JJ, good to see you. I sent you a few more good stuff there on Telegram. And God bless everybody. Love all. Please like and subscribe to the backup channel, please, in the description box if you haven't yet. Thank you. And stay safe, stay strong, get your faith. Never give up. Signing off for Monday night. Chico Nude. See you all tomorrow.